Chapter 1088. The hunters all had the mentality of watching a good show, but no one could have imagined that an unforeseen event would occur. Blood suddenly bloomed from the back of Channing Leighton's head. His body fell heavily to the ground. Then Domingo grabbed the glass bottle and ran in Ava's direction. "Master, this is for you." Domingo held the glass bottle with both hands and handed it to Ava respectfully. Shock was written all over everyone's faces. Domingo was a traitor? Uncle! Alger picked up Channing Leighton's body and roared in grief and indignation, "Domingo!" Even Ava and Adam beside Ava didn't expect Domingo to be on their side. "Good boy." Ava took the glass bottle, her face full of pride. FIOS already knew that Domingo wasn't a good person, but she didn't expect Domingo to do something so shameless. Ava held the glass bottle. "It's so beautiful. I didn't expect Leighton to care so much about me. He even took out Satan's blood. It must have been hard on him." Ava looked at Domingo, who lowered his head in fear and trepidation to show his respect to Ava. "Domingo, you shouldn't have killed Leighton so quickly. After all, he's the father of one of my children." The reason why Channing Leighton hated AI so much was because they had a past. Of course, Channing Leighton didn't know Ava's identity at all at that time. Ava had disappeared after giving birth to their child, and when she reappeared, she snatched their child away. Not long after, Channing Leighton received something. His child's corpse. He couldn't imagine what kind of woman she was. Even a vicious tiger wouldn't eat its cubs. This idiom definitely didn't apply to her. Chun Zhao heard Ava murmur to herself. He couldn't help but look at the glass bottle in Ava's hand. The glass bottle looked more like bound starlight. It didn't look like liquid at all. This thing was called Satan's blood? Chun Zhao took out another phone and called the handsome guy. "Hey, handsome, is it convenient for you to video call now?" "Yes. Do you recognize what that woman's holding?" "Huh. That's my blood. Is it really your blood?" Chun Zhao was surprised. Chun Zhao had thought that it was something really awesome, so he named it Satan's blood. But now the little handsome boy had admitted that it was his blood. Chun Zhao found it hard to believe. "Why is your blood in the human world?" "No, I should say, who can make you bleed? That is the blood I personally bestowed in the ancient era." "What's the use? The thing in the bottle in her hand should be able to destroy all life in the 10 mountains," the handsome young man said. "Everything can't survive? How do I block it?" "I can't," the handsome young man replied calmly. "Am I unable to block it now?" "The power in the bottle is calculated in terms of range. Unless you have the strength of a demon king, there is no possibility of resisting it. The killing range will be as large as it can cause. In other words, I'm dead meat." "No, I can help you." "How are you going to help me?" "Your power can't seep into the human world, right?" As the demon king, the handsome young man's strength was undeniable. Even Samuel could project a tiny clone. But the handsome young man couldn't even send a sliver of his power into the human world. "My power can't seep into the human world, but that bottle contains my blood. I can control it. That scared me." Chun Zhao patted his chest. "But if your power can't seep into the human world, why can your blood appear here? That's a different concept. All rules have loopholes. If I'm willing to waste my blood, I can also pollute the entire human world, but it's meaningless to me," the handsome young man said. "Even if the blood in the bottle is only a millionth of my blood, it can still cause a disaster in the human world." Chun Zhao was speechless. A millionth of his blood could cause a disaster. He was already powerful enough in the human world. But before this power, he seemed so insignificant. "Then I can jump again. Remember the spell I taught you." "Are you talking about that amazing spell?" "Yes," the handsome young man said. The handsome boy said, "If that woman releases my blood, then you can activate that magic. I will also help you control it. You won't be hurt." "Understood." Right now, everyone was rather dissatisfied with Chun Zhao. Because of this tense situation. Chen Zhao was actually making a call here, and a video call at that. As for the people from the association, they were already used to it. It wasn't Chen Zhao's first time making a call in such a tense atmosphere. Ava felt like her reputation had been damaged. "Mr. Chin, do you want to know if this thing in my hand can kill you? Come quickly. I know this thing is called Satan's blood. I know this thing can destroy everything on this island if I throw it out, but unfortunately it's useless against me." After Chen Zhao found out that he wouldn't die, he showed an arrogant attitude, not afraid of AIWA at all. Ava narrowed her eyes at Chen Zhao. Since you know this is called Satan's blood, how dare you bluff in front of me? Whoever's a coward is a coward. Once Satan's blood was released, no living creature could escape the fate of annihilation. Even the holder couldn't avoid it. Anyway, it was just a nuclear bomb thrown at close range. No matter who got it, it would be a move that would kill them all. So, to use Satan's blood, one had to have the courage to use it first. Seeing Chen Zhao so crazy, Ava was completely speechless. She felt that Chen Zhao knew that she wouldn't dare to use it. That was why his attitude was so arrogant. "Even if you don't use it, you won't be able to escape death," Ava said calmly. Suddenly, a grenade exploded under Ava's feet. However, AI stood there unscathed. The flames from the explosion were blocked by the fog around her body, which, "Your opponent is me," Alger roared. Shoot. Channing Leighton's death had made Alger completely lose his mind. Zoran and Emily had no choice but to participate in the battle because they were already in the same boat as Alger. Everyone was pouring all their ammunition towards AI and the others. "You're asking for death," Ava snorted, and a mist surged toward them. Death mist. Helitha's expression changed slightly. Chapter 1089. Recently, because of his schedule had been reversed. He tried to correct his schedule, but it ended in failure. Every day, he didn't have enough sleep, and his mind was groggy. Seeing that the double monthly votes for this month was getting further and further away from him, he felt anxious. Chapter 1090. Ava's fog of death was even larger than Helios's. The fog of death swept past Alger and the others, instantly enveloping them in the fog. Then they heard the panicked cries of the figures in the fog, as well as cries for help. A ball of flame exploded in the fog. Alger fell out and scrambled out of the fog. His body was severely burned. In order to avoid the erosion of the fog of death, he directly used a grenade to explode at close range. He used the explosive impact of the grenade to blast away the fog of death, thus saving his life. Alger had always heard how terrifying the Black Witch was. However, he never believed that a woman could fight against an elite team. Only now did he realize that the Black Witch was more terrifying than he had imagined. None of the familiar faces walked out of the fog of death. When the fog of death dissipated, 10 corpses were left. Their faces were still filled with panic, fear, and despair. Alger lay on the ground, tears streaming down his face. Dead, they're all dead. Alger propped himself up with difficulty and looked at Ava and Domingo. His eyes were filled with hatred. "Your eyes are the same as your uncle's." Ava smiled at Alger. She seemed to be enjoying the pleasure brought by this gaze. Suddenly, 2 black shadows shrouded Ava. Helios launched a sneak attack. The 2 corpse demons attacked AI. Ava's face showed a hint of mockery. A black shadow also appeared behind her, taller than Helios's 2 corpse demons. It was taller than the 2 corpse demons combined, and Ava's corpse demon skin was covered with a layer of metal. Ava's corpse demon grabbed the necks of Helios's 2 corpse demons with both hands, and won by absolute advantage despite fighting 1 against 2. Helios's 2 corpse demons kept waving their fists, attacking Ava from beginning to end. But their fists were no threat to Ava's corpse demons. Ava said lightly, "This is the guardian of the family, Helios. You're more outstanding than I imagined." Another 10 corpse demons appeared behind Ava. These 10 corpse demons were the same as Ava's 2 guardians. Helios's expression changed again. She could only summon 2 corpse demons, but her mother could summon 11. And one of them was stronger than the 2 of them. Now, do you understand the gap between us? FIOS looked at the scene nervously. She didn't even know who was the good guy and who was the bad guy. The 10 guardian corpses summoned by AI attacked them. Rissa raised her arms. Heat blasts. The 2 demonic corpses were sent flying by the impact. Fiona's eyes almost popped out. It turned out that Lisa was so powerful. West pointed between his eyebrows. Slow. The movements of the 8 guardian corpse demons in front of him suddenly became slow, just like in a movie in slow motion. Klaus and the others made their move. Guns and cannons rained down on the guardian corpse demon's body. Klaus rushed to the side of the guardian corpse demon, climbed up, threw a grenade into the mouth of a guardian corpse demon, and flipped down. The whole process was so smooth that Fiona was dumbfounded. It was like watching the main character in an action movie. AI saw that Heli's companions were quite strong. He immediately recalled the guardian corpse demon. Repairing these guardian corpse demons was not easy. He needed a lot of magic materials. You guys are not bad. If you surrender now and serve me, you can keep your lives. Then you better ask our boss, Klaus said flippantly with a gun on his shoulder. Qin Zhao had a great influence on him. In the past, Klaus never joked on the battlefield. But now, Klaus would always find the time to tease his enemies in the most tense moments. AI looked at Qin Zhao. You? I agree to give you this chance. Serve me. Last time, someone also asked me to serve you, Qin Zhao said. I said I could consider it, but he rejected my conditions. As long as you're willing to serve me, I can accept any condition. For example, give me a striptease. AI's expression darkened. No wonder he rejected it. You'll die. AI's voice was filled with coldness and murderous intent. The first corpse demon AI summoned charged at Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao raised his right arm again. Bang! This attack was even stronger than before. Half of the corpse demon's body was gone. AI narrowed her eyes. This guy was indeed difficult to deal with. No wonder they were so loyal to him. Just then, the sky gradually darkened. AI's magic was stronger too. Necromancy magic was more powerful after dark to begin with. AI clawed at Qin Zhao from dozens of meters away. A huge bone prison appeared beside Qin Zhao. Bang! In the blink of an eye, Qin Zhao shattered the bone prison. Let's be serious, so we can finish early and eat supper, Qin Zhao said. Show me your ultimate move. Do you want to see the magic I'm most proud of? Then I'll fulfill your wish. Ava raised her arms. The magic in her body was being released. Suddenly, FIOS felt her heart palpitate. It was as if something disturbing was about to happen. Just then, a dozen wobbly skeletons walked out of the grass beside the altar. The eyes of these skeleton soldiers shone with green light as they staggered forward. Are you kidding me? This is the magic you're proud of? Qin Zhao said, rolling his eyes. But just then, more skeletons climbed out of the lake. The number of skeleton soldiers kept increasing, and they were appearing from all directions. All the dead on the island seemed to have been awakened by AI. No one is my match on this island, AI said confidently, especially since this is the center of the island. I can easily summon tens of thousands of skeletons. Qin Zhao looked at the surrounding forest and saw even more green eyes in the forest. There were also many green dots of light in the lake. They were climbing ashore. Qin Zhao shot out an electric ball from his right arm. It landed among the skeletons by the lake. Dozens of skeleton soldiers were destroyed, but more and more skeleton soldiers came ashore. I'll ask you one last time. Submit or die. Let's do a striptease. Kill. Crack, crack, crack. Countless skeletons surged toward the altar from all directions. There were too many skeletons. Chen Zhao didn't hold back at all. He would kill as many as came from his direction. Every time he fired it brought him great pleasure. But after a dozen shots, Chen Zhao realized that they were a bit muted. Chapter 1091. Chen Zhao looked around. She's gone? Looking back, he saw a few skeleton soldiers dragging Megan away while Chen Zhao was distracted. Seeing that Megan had returned to her side, Ava turned to Chen Zhao. What are you going to do now? Ava had the attitude of a victor. She guessed that Chen Zhao had interfered in the battle between Megan and Helios because he'd realized that Megan could recharge him. Now that Megan was back in his hands, he'd be a lamb waiting to be slaughtered after Chen Zhao ran out of electricity. Klaus, I'll leave the battlefield to you guys, Chen Zhao said. President's going to slack off again. Jawleg and Padalu were part of the logistics team. Their combat abilities were average. Their spells were all related to the assembly of machinery. Chen Zhao had brought them along because they were responsible for the Conqueror's maintenance and stability. West was part of the think tank. He also had good support abilities. The field of sluggishness, which was derived from his thinking spell, could slow down the enemy when they were within range of movement. Facing the skeleton army, the main forces were still the Lightning Team, Helios, Payne, and Eric. In particular, Payne and Eric were the most positive. A single skeleton soldier wasn't a threat to them, but now they were facing a sea of skeleton soldiers. Even if they had enough guns and ammunition, they'd die of exhaustion. Who knew how many people were buried on this island? It was a huge graveyard. FIOS was already trembling in fear. She should be the most useless one out of everyone. Of course, it wasn't correct to say that she was completely useless. Her battle record was 1 skeleton soldier. Thankfully, she was surrounded by the pirates. She had a pistol in her hand. Lisa wasn't strong either. She'd used up most of her heat energy against the 2 guardian corpse demons. The sky was dark again, and the temperature was much lower. The amount of heat she could absorb was very limited. Moreover, if she absorbed heat energy without any worries, the first to suffer wouldn't be the enemies, but her companions. As a result, her usefulness on the battlefield was very limited. Ava looked at the battlefield and then at Chen Zhao, who wasn't involved. Ellen, how's your mana recovery? I've recovered 30% of my mana, Ellen said. AI summoned a guardian corpse demon and said to Ellen, give it multiplying magic. Master, I'm afraid I can only use multiplication on such a large body once. Once is enough, Ava said indifferently. That was the only value Ellen had left. Irene could only cast amplification on the guardian ghoul. The guardian corpse demon, who was originally 5 meters tall, transformed into a 15-meter giant after using the multiplication spell, which was even bigger than Michelle. After using magic, Ellen's body became even weaker. Under Ava's control, the corpse demon charged toward Chen Zhao. Everyone held their breath and looked at the giant in disbelief. But before the giant could reach Chen Zhao, he suddenly tripped and fell in front of Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao lifted the bronze sword and cut off the giant's head. The people from the association looked as if they had known this would happen. Ava's expression was completely frozen. She had actually used this to test Chen Zhao. She didn't know if what Chen Zhao said about running out of electricity was true or not. Thus, she didn't dare to attack Chen Zhao first. That was why she used Guardian Corpse Demon and Multiplication spell to test him. To her, if Chen Zhao really ran out of electricity, he would definitely be killed. If he didn't, then he would have to use the last bit of electricity to kill him. But the result made her jaw drop. The Guardian Corpse Demon actually tripped, which was something that had never happened before. In the end, Chen Zhao even cut off the Corpse Demon's head. You're just here to die, right? Chen Zhao sneered. AI's face was green. She summoned the remaining corpse demons again. Kill him. Chen Zhao turned and ran. Guardian Corpse Demon, chased after him. Chun Zhao ran into the small forest. Naturally, the corpse demon followed him. But in less than 30 seconds, Chun Zhao walked out. But those corpse demons didn't come out again. Ai's pupils suddenly contracted. What happened? How did he destroy those corpse demons? Ai's heart ached when her corpse demons were all destroyed. But now wasn't the time to feel heartache. I want you to die. Can you do it? On the other side, the people from the association were in a tough battle. The lightning squad's ammunition was starting to run out. The others had used up more than half of their mana too. No, we can't continue like this. Move toward the president. Everyone started moving toward Chun Zhao consciously. President, we can't hold on anymore. I can still fight, Helios said. She had the most mana right now. After all, she'd absorbed the mana of 12 siblings. FIOS looked at Chun Zhao. She realized that the Asian who'd seemed the weakest was now like their spiritual pillar. But could he really turn the situation around? Facing such a hellish situation, did he really have a solution? Help me kill the Black Witch and Domingo. I'll pay $50 million. Alger had been fighting alone. Right now, he was filled with determination to die, but his power alone was really insignificant. He was worried that Chun Zhao and the others would choose to retreat, so he threw out the bait. At the very least, compared to him alone, Chun Zhao and the others had a higher chance of defeating the Black Witch. I'm not your mercenary. I don't accept your offer. President, we'll probably have to earn some extra money this time, Wes said, troubled. Wes said awkwardly, this time the ship we rented sank. We have to compensate the chartering company at least $30 million. Also, that armed helicopter is legal military equipment. It costs $12 million. So, we lost more than $40 million. Chun Zhao asked in shock, his eyes wide. Wes nodded, troubled. This doesn't include our labor costs. Chun Zhao turned to Alger. How do you plan to pay? Do you have the money? My uncle is dead. I'm the only heir to the family business now. Alger wasn't happy about this. He kept blaming himself for trusting the wrong person. A friend he knew had killed his uncle. Because Charnington didn't have any children, he'd always raised and taken care of Alger like his own. Chapter 1092. Do you want him alive? That traitor, Chun Zhao asked. You can capture him alive? Alger asked in surprise. That's a bit more expensive. The people from the association all looked away. Chun Zhao was raising the price again. Sure, any price is fine. Don't be so vague. Name a price. If it's suitable, I'll capture him alive for you. Add 20 million, Alger said. Then Chun Zhao said to West, this 20 million is my personal income, not the association's. Okay, President. Chun Zhao started stretching his limbs and looked at Ava and Domingo. Domingo immediately tensed up. At the same time, he took a step behind Ava. Ava waved her hand, and hundreds of skeleton soldiers gathered in front of them. Did you ask me if you want to capture my people? Then do you agree if I want to capture your people? No. Chun Zhao suddenly burst out with full speed. All the skeleton soldiers in a straight line were instantly scattered. There were hundreds of skeleton soldiers in front of Ava, but there were only 20 to 30 in a straight line. Chun Zhao burst out with full speed. Almost no creature could react. Ava's nerves tensed up. Before she could react, Chun Zhao was already before her. He's not a lightning mage. Chun Zhao slapped Ava away and grabbed Domingo with his other hand. In the blink of an eye, Chun Zhao returned to the crowd. FIOS stared at Chun Zhao in disbelief. What happened just now? Alger was also dumbfounded. Shock and disbelief were written all over his face. Then he looked at Domingo in Chun Zhao's hand. Domingo wasn't dead, but without any protection, he had to endure the high-speed air pressure. He felt like his entire body was falling apart. He couldn't even stand up. He's yours now. Chun Zhao tossed Domingo before Alger. Ava covered her face and stood up. She was also shocked. What's wrong with this man? What's with that monstrous speed? President, I want him alive too. I want to kill that woman with my own hands, Helios said. No problem. Chen Zhao was always generous with his subordinates' requests. Ava immediately gathered all the skeleton soldiers together. He had seen Chen Zhao's speed. She really had no confidence in dealing with that kind of speed. The only thing he could do now was to increase the density of the space around him and slow him down. The entire altar was already filled with densely packed skeletons, surrounding AI, Hua, and the rest. Turn around. 3 seconds, Chen Zhao ordered. He really didn't want his clone to be naked in front of his subordinates. This was truly damaging to the president's reputation and prestige. Rissa pulled FOS, who was still in a daze. Do you want to die? FIOS quickly turned around. 3, 2, 1. Done. When FIOS turned around again, she saw that there were 12 clones around Chen Zhao. Every doppelganger was wearing tight clothes. Kill. The 12 clones moved in unison. The 12 clones were 12 unstoppable monsters. They killed their way into the group of skeletons as if they were crushing dry weeds and rotten wood. Although the number of skeleton soldiers was astonishing, if they were piled up together, they would lose their advantage in numbers. After all, they couldn't even move the skeleton soldiers on the inside. Moreover, their bones would collide with each other or entangle with each other. The killing efficiency of the 12 clones was simply too high. AI Hua's expression was solemn. If this continued, all the skeleton soldiers she summoned would be killed. She had to stop the clones from sweeping through. AI Hua directly released the death mist. Seeing the death mist cover over, Chen Zhao raised his right arm. The mouth of gluttony open. More than half of the death mist was devoured by the mouth of gluttony. Black Alice, the rest is yours. Assimilate as many as you can. Yes, President. Alger looked at Chen Zhao. So this man was the real boss. Someone as strong as AI Hua was a centuries-old legend. Before this man, she actually couldn't resist at all. Adam's face was also filled with shock. This was the first time. It was the first time he saw his mother being restrained by another person. AI Hua was also a bit panicked now, because she realized that she couldn't understand what magic element Chen Zhao had at all. But she didn't completely admit defeat. Go die. AI Hua finally took out her trump card. Above the altar, 10 ghost ships appeared. On the ghost ships, countless evil spirits were roaring, letting out sharp and terrifying howls. In total, there were about 4,000 to 5,000 evil spirits on the 10 ghost ships. Seeing this scene, everyone's expression changed. Even Adam and Ellen felt that AI Hua was invincible, although Chen Zhao had displayed great power earlier. But facing AI Hua's true killing move, it still seemed insignificant. Seeing these ghost ships, Fiona immediately thought of the attack they'd encountered on the sea. Do you really think you can beat me? AI Hua looked at Chen Zhao. You're too naive. What happened earlier was just an appetizer. The war has just begun. Chen Zhao silently took out a perfect angelic crystal. With a smile, he said, Coincidentally, I'm also warming up. Stubborn. I hope you can still say this to me so easily later. I'll just stand still. If your ghost ships can make me move one step, then I lose. Chen Zhao crossed his arms. Mr. Chen, these ghost ships are very scary. Don't be careless. Alger felt that Chen Zhao was too arrogant. He'd seen how scary the ghost ships were with his own eyes. He felt that even Chen Zhao had to face them seriously. He shouldn't be arrogant and face them with such an arrogant and contemptuous attitude. It's none of your business. Why do you care so much? West glanced at Alger. Alger immediately shut up. He couldn't help but curse inwardly. My good intentions aren't rewarded. Let's see how your boss dies later. However, Alger clearly didn't understand the inner thoughts of the people of the association. If AI Hua had summoned 10 warships, she might have been able to defeat Chen Zhao. However, she had summoned 10 specter ships. She definitely didn't know that Chen Zhao's strongest ability was to restrain spirit bodies. In the past, when Chen Zhao faced spirit enemies, he'd often let Blackie fight. But this didn't mean that Chen Zhao couldn't deal with spirit bodies. Plus, to Chen Zhao, the most effective way to deal with spirit bodies didn't even need to fight. He could use angelic crystals directly. Normal spirit bodies would be turned to ashes by the light emitted by angelic crystals. As for perfect angelic crystals, they were obtained from monster-level enemies. Perfect angelic crystals were like nuclear reactors. They didn't need to receive light. Chapter 1093. At Ava's command, the 10 ghost ships rammed into Chen Zhao. The association members all stood behind Chen Zhao, even though they were very confident in Chen Zhao. Although they were very confident in Chen Zhao, their hearts were still pounding when they faced the 10 ghost ships. If Chen Zhao couldn't stop them, they would probably die too. But just then, the first ghost ship that approached Chen Zhao showed signs of disappearing without any warning. First, the bow disappeared. As the ship continued forward, the body disappeared too. The evil spirit crew on the ghost ship also disappeared. They didn't even have a chance to resist. They turned into ashes under everyone's gaze. Chen Zhao, on the other hand, had been standing there with his arms crossed. He didn't move at all. He didn't even move his feet. The entire ghost ship turned into ashes just like that. Disbelief was written all over everyone's faces. No one knew how Chen Zhao had done it. The entire process was so unimaginable. The second ghost ship arrived as scheduled, but the result was the same. It disappeared when it was less than 5 meters away from Chen Zhao. The people of the association knew that Chen Zhao was very good at dealing with spirits, but this unbelievable method still made their eyeballs fall out. Alger kept staring at Chen Zhao in shock. He wanted to see how Chen Zhao had done it. Perhaps Chen Zhao had used some unknown spell. But after staring for a long time, he still didn't understand. Because Chen Zhao really hadn't moved at all. The third ghost ship, the fourth, the fifth, these ghost ships charged at Chen Zhao one after another, but without exception, they all disappeared when they were 5 meters away from Chen Zhao. Ava finally stopped the ghost ships' suicidal attacks. Compared to the others, Ava was even more shocked. Because she'd used this spell, she knew better than anyone how powerful the ghost ships were. But Chen Zhao had destroyed 5 ghost ships without any effort. From the beginning to the end, she didn't understand how Chen Zhao had done it. Ava's expression grew more and more serious. The Asian in front of her was the most threatening of all the enemies she had ever encountered. Why did you stop? Continue? I'm still hoping for a ghost ship to appear in front of me. Everyone rolled their eyes. Did he think that the black witches were stupid? If she still couldn't understand at this point, then she was really stupid. If he sent the ghost ship to attack Chen Zhao, wouldn't that be suicidal? Right at this moment, AI Wa's heart trembled, and she suddenly raised her head to look at the sky. Adam and Helith had the same reaction. They seemed to have sensed something. Chen Zhao heard horrid whisper, "It's coming." "What's here?" Chen Zhao asked, confused. "The red star, Beto's comet, is coming." Chen Zhao also looked up at the sky. At this time, what appeared in the night sky was not a sky full of stars, but endless darkness. And at the edge of the darkness, there seemed to be a red light shrouding it. The red light was spreading across the entire sky. At this moment, everyone felt the ground shake. It was as if something was about to break out of the ground. In the center of the altar was a circular hole. Something red was seeping out of the hole. Blood? Blood? Fresh blood flowed along the patterns on the ground of the altar, spreading in all directions. The Agama Bridge is about to appear. AI Wa said excitedly, excitement written all over her face. She seemed to have forgotten about the current situation and her great enemy, Chen Zhao. The red star finally streaked across the sky. However, this red star did not flash past like a meteor. Instead, it dragged a slender red tail and moved slowly. Blood was still seeping out from the center of the altar. It had already spread to half of the altar. Now both sides had tacitly stopped fighting. They seemed to be waiting for the so-called Agama Bridge. "Helith, walk to the center of the altar," Qin Zhao said. Helith nodded and walked to the center of the altar. Seeing Helith come over, Aiwa immediately shouted, "Stop! This is mine. No one can touch it." It was obvious that Aiwa was very nervous. "I don't care what comes out later. It's Helith's, anyway." Qin Zhao looked at Aiwa. "Do you want a way to live forever? I can give you a way to live forever." Aiwa threw out a bait. She had once used this condition to attract many people to submit to her. Humans could not resist this tempting condition. Everyone looked at Qin Zhao, even Helith. Even she felt tempted, let alone Qin Zhao. Thus, Helith could not guarantee that Qin Zhao would be tempted and help Aiwa. Qin Zhao shrugged. "Sorry, I'm not interested. I think your so-called way to live forever must have a lot of restrictions. Then, you'll make yourself neither human nor ghost." Hearing Qin Zhao's reply, Aiwa was furious. Helith, on the other hand, heaved a sigh of relief. At the same time, she looked at Qin Zhao with even more admiration. Just then, the red giant finally reached the sky above the altar. Helith, Aiwa, and Adam all felt the blood in their bodies send a voice to them. Helith seemed to have suddenly understood. She took out Nasamara's awl and stabbed it into her palm. She let her blood drip onto the altar. Aiwa and Adam's expressions darkened when they saw Nasamara's awl in Helith's hand. Why was this thing in Helith's hands? Suddenly, Nasamara's awl left Helith's control and flew toward the center of the altar. A beam of red light shot down from the sky and landed at the center of the altar. At the same time, it enveloped Nasamara's awl. After receiving the red light from Comet Betos, Nasamara's awl became completely transparent. Then, the red light refracted through Nasamara's awl and turned into a colorful beam that shot into the hole in the center of the altar. A blood-colored key slowly appeared from the hole in the center of the altar. Qin Zhao raised an eyebrow. "It's a key? Did the Sansiko family want to make a key? It's mine." Aiwa yelled and charged toward the blood-colored key. Helith also charged toward the blood-colored key at the same time. But just then, the blood-colored key suddenly exploded. The moment the blood-red key exploded, a shockwave spread in all directions. Everyone was pushed away from the center of the altar. Thankfully, the destructive power of the shockwave was not too great. Helith was not hurt. On the contrary, Helith seemed to be in high spirits. Helith looked at her hands in disbelief. "President, my magic power seems to have become stronger." Chapter 1094. Helith's magic had become stronger, but so had Ava. Plus, her increase was much greater than Helith's. "Lord of the Deep, Morabit, Constant Sella, listen to my call and descend upon the world with your majestic figures," Ava called out loudly. 3 black holes with a diameter of 20 meters appeared in front of Ava. First, an arm reached out from the middle black hole. Qin Zhao was very familiar with the arm. Then the same arm appeared from the left and right black holes. 3 abyss demons climbed out of the 3 black holes. "Human, it's you." When the demon in the middle saw Qin Zhao, his face was filled with ecstasy. "Did you not expect us to meet again so soon? And this time, I appear before you in my complete form? President, do you know him?" "Not really," Qin Zhao said. "Someone summoned him in the past, but in an incomplete form. Then I humiliated him, and he ran back to hell with his tail between his legs. Before he left, he even left a flag." FIOS stared at Qin Zhao. Just how daring did this guy have to be? He dared to provoke everything. Everyone's heart was pounding. The aura emanating from these 3 abyssal demons caused them to feel a deep chill. "Are you too scared to move now?" The demon in the middle looked down at Qin Zhao. Remember my name more a bit, because your soul will be imprisoned and tortured by me forever. Lord Morabit, time is limited. Please kill him as soon as possible." Ava's tone was filled with sincerity and humility. She didn't have the arrogance she had when facing others. However, the current AI was no longer the same. She didn't understand what was going on either. Her magic power had increased by several times. In the past, she could barely summon one demon, but now she was able to easily summon 3 abyssal demons. But there was still a time limit. She needed to continuously provide magic to maintain the 3 demons in the human world. As long as her magic power was exhausted, the 3 abyssal demons would return to hell. More a bit, right? Chen Zhao walked toward the 3 demons calmly. "I think if you have the chance, you definitely don't want to meet me again." Everyone in the association stared at his back nervously. After all, compared to the 3 demons, Chen Zhao was too insignificant. They couldn't be sure if Chen Zhao could defeat the demon. Chen Zhao suddenly stopped in his tracks. The dark serum spread around Chen Zhao's feet. Under Chen Zhao's control, it activated its meat grinder mode. Chen Zhao had fought many demons from the abyss. Chen Zhao clearly remembered all the abilities of the demons from the abyss, including their power, their magic, and even their mana. Countless black blades swept towards Morabit. Before Morabit could react, his feet were shredded by countless dark blades. The meat grinder mode was called the meat grinder, just like the name Chen Zhao had given it. As long as one fell into the blade of the dark serum, they would definitely be ground to pieces. Morabit let out a blood-curdling scream. As his legs were crushed, his body fell to the ground. The moment he fell to the ground, his entire body came into contact with the dark serum. In an instant, his entire body was torn to pieces. Pieces of flesh flew everywhere. Everyone was dumbfounded when they saw this scene. They stared at Chen Zhao in shock. Even the other 2 demons, Consta and Sella, were shocked by Morabit's tragic ending. Ava couldn't believe this result either. She'd thought that even if she only summoned 1 demon, it would be enough to kill Chen Zhao. The reason why she had summoned the 3 abyssal demons was to show off her powerful strength. But the result was far beyond her expectations. Chen Zhao killed an abyss demon almost instantly. Consta suddenly launched a sneak attack on Chen Zhao. His eyes glowed with green flames. It hit Chen Zhao and he was blown away. "Great!" AI Wa cried out in surprise. The association stared at Chen Zhao worriedly. However, Chen Zhao stood up again as if nothing had happened. The association also heaved a long sigh of relief. Chen Zhao suddenly sped up. He was so fast that the naked eye couldn't catch him. Chen Zhao leaped up and charged at Consta. The mouth of gluttony and eye of power opened at the same time. Chen Zhao's right arm turned into a foundation hammer and he punched. Consta turned into a headless corpse and fell to the ground. Everyone was scared silly, including the remaining abyssal evil demon, Sella. Why did this happen? Why did I encounter such a monster? AI Wa thought. Sella thought the same. Do you know that you 3 aren't the only demons I've met? Chen Zhao grinned. Let me count how many demons I've killed. I think there are more than 10. Hurry up and send me back to hell, Sella cried in terror. I don't want to face this guy. Hurry! Everyone stared at Chen Zhao in disbelief, as well as Sella, who was scared out of her wits. A man who could scare a terrifying demon into peeing his pants. It was Fioza's first time seeing a supernatural battle. Her heart was also filled with shock. I've never let go of any abyss demon that appears before me. Chen Zhao took out his zither and 12 stone swords. Just then, Haris said, President, can I leave the corpse intact? Chen Zhao thought about it and nodded. Sure. Then Chen Zhao put away the zither and 12 stone swords. Glancing at Sella, the dark serum suddenly pounced at her. Sella struggled, trying to break free from the dark serum. But all his struggles and efforts were in vain. The more he struggled, the faster he fell. In the end, his huge body completely sank into the dark serum. Ava, Adam, and Ellen's limbs were all cold. They looked at Qin Zhao with fear and despair. The man before them was indescribably terrifying. Even an expert as strong as AI Hua seemed so helpless when facing this man. Ms. Ava, do you have any other trump cards? If not, we can settle the score. No, it should be between you and Horace. Ava picked up Satan's blood. Don't come over. If you come over, I'll release Satan's blood. Qin Zhao ignored AI Hua and continued to walk toward her. Chapter 1095. Whoever's a coward. Qin Zhao sneered with an indifferent expression. Come, don't say that I didn't give you a chance. If I wanted to steal it, would Satan's blood still be in your hands? So I don't care if you let it go or not. Actually, I hope you do. President, stop joking, Alice shouted. You can take it, but we can't. Alice, what's the use of Satan's blood? Within 10 miles, everything will be destroyed. Any living being. Alice said, There's no chance of survival. The people of the association were shocked and looked at Qin Zhao worriedly. Ava seemed to have caught Qin Zhao's weakness. You can be afraid, but what about your subordinates? They don't have your abilities. I'm sorry to disappoint you again. I have the ability to protect them. What exactly do you want to let me go? Ava's eyes were filled with anger and conflict. What she was looking for now was nothing more than a chance of survival. But Qin Zhao's attitude was firm. He didn't want to negotiate with her at all. Your life and death will be decided by our Helith. Daughter, do you really have to force me to death? Ava looked at Helis with a pained expression. Harris looked at AI Hua coldly. Put away your disgusting honor. I've said it before, my greatest wish is to kill you. If you want me to die, then we'll die together. AI Hua saw that both Qin Zhao and Helith were determined. They wouldn't stop until they forced her to death. Then they'd die together. Since she had no way out, why should she leave a way out for others? Ava opened the bottle. Instantly, the light spots in the bottle gushed out. Ava didn't even have the chance to scream. Her body instantly turned into ashes. Adam and Ellen couldn't escape their doom either. Touched by a light spot, their bodies were also instantly destroyed. Originally, there were only 1 or 2 light spots in the bottle. But after leaving the bottle, the number of light spots increased rapidly and spread in all directions. Be it the ground, plants, or corpses, as long as they were touched by the light spots, they would be instantly destroyed. When they reached Qin Zhao's feet, Qin Zhao used a dazzling spell. Instantly, hundreds of magic arrays appeared behind him. This was the second time the people from the Union had seen this spell. He realized that the light spots were being absorbed by his spell. However, he soon realized that his magic array couldn't absorb any more. However, at that moment, the light began to shrink and converge into a single light. Finally, the speck of light disappeared into the darkness. Alger stared at him in shock. The blood of Satan had been passed down in his family for generations. According to the family's internal records, the blood of Satan was just as AI Hua had said. No one could resist it and annihilate all life. However, Qin Zhao had blocked Satan's blood. Previously, Alger had thought that Qin Zhao was bluffing, but after witnessing this scene, he was completely speechless. Qin Zhao turned his head and looked at Helios. I'm sorry that your mother didn't make it to you alive. It's fine, guild leader. I know this isn't your fault. Suddenly, Qin Zhao saw the transparent Naxamara all. Qin Zhao was surprised that Nasamara's all hadn't been destroyed. Qin Zhao walked up to pick up Nasamara's all. But the next moment, Nasamara's all shattered like glass. A white key landed in Qin Zhao's hand. Key! Another key? Holding the key, Qin Zhao studied it carefully. Nasamara's all was originally a key, right? But this white key. But what about the red key from before? Qin Zhao put away the key. Looking around, half of the altar had been destroyed by Satan's blood. If Chen Zhao hadn't stopped it, most of the island would probably have been turned to ashes like the altar. Chen Zhao looked at Alger. "When can you pay me?" "I'll pay you as soon as possible." Alger didn't dare to go back on his word. Without a doubt, Chen Zhao was like a demon king. He could go back on anyone but Chen Zhao. "I also hope to be quick," Chen Zhao said. "I'll rest here for the night and go home tomorrow." In a situation where there were no disputes, this island was very good. It didn't matter whether it was the geography or the temperature. Of course, one had to ignore the countless skeletons buried on the island. At night, everyone sat in front of the fire. "Pan, roast this." Chen Zhao took out an octopus tentacle. "President, do you want to know about my family's plan?" Helis asked, walking to Chen Zhao's side. "You know." "Just now, my bloodline inheritance was completely unlocked," Helis said. "Yes, tell me." "As for my family's plan, I'll have to talk about the Nasamara Caporal. I don't know the origin of the Nasamara Caporal, but it seems to have appeared along with the Nasamara civilization. As for the function of the Nasamara Caporal, I don't need to explain it to you. Not everyone can use the Nasamara Caporal, so it has always been kept by the two great aristocrats of Nasamara. However, due to the war, the population of the San Siko family decreased drastically. Then the patriarch took the lead and started this plan to imitate the Nasamara Caporal, a caporal that is only suitable for the San Siko family. Chen Zhao suddenly realized that the blood-red key was a replica. "So, what happened?" "Of course it failed," Harold said. "The red key that appeared just now is the so-called imitation." "Was it a replica?" Chen Zhao was a bit disappointed, but he didn't think too much about it. Including the white key he'd just obtained, he now had 5 keys. However, he only used 2 keys now. The first golden key could allow him to adapt to most environments. However, he had yet to figure out what effect the second key had had on his body. Chen Zhao fell into deep thought. "President, our ship is overturned. How do we go back now?" West asked. "My uncle's ship is still parked outside the island," Alger said. "But it's an armed ship. It can't get close to the mainland. I can send it to Hawaii." "That works too. Go to Hawaii and then take a plane back to LA." Chen Zhao nodded. "I'm going to Hawaii too," Eva said. There were 5 of them this time. Only she and Alger were left. FIOS didn't know what she was thinking. This journey had also allowed her to see another world. Chapter 1096. "You definitely don't want to know." Chen Zhao interrupted from the side. He'd seen how Alger had dealt with Domingo. Chen Zhao didn't even want to hear about it. "Oh, are there any treasures on the island?" "It's happening again. The president is going crazy again. Should we use this time to go and see if there's anything valuable on the island?" Chen Zhao suggested. Thankfully, Haris said, "Yes, Nasamara's treasures, but to us in the modern world, they're not worth much." After everyone fell asleep, Chen Zhao climbed onto the hill and sat down. He was studying the white key. He'd studied the key in his hand countless times. He'd dripped blood to recognize it, send in magic, or use his spirit to leave his body. These were all basic operations. Occasionally, Chen Zhao would roast the key over fire or soak it in water. He tried to activate the key. Unfortunately, it didn't work. The sun was rising. Holding the key, Chen Zhao aimed the keyhole at the sun. Through the keyhole, sunlight shone on Chen Zhao's eyes. Chen Zhao remembered last night when Comet Beetos had arrived. Nasamara's copper all, the white key's predecessor, had reacted. Logically speaking, the white key should be effective against starlight? No, Comet Beetos didn't glow and wasn't red. Comet Beetos glowed red because, after entering low Earth orbit, it rubbed against the thin air and produced the red light. At that time, Comet Beetos should have been completely burning. But to confirm his guess, he had to wait another 159 years. He had to wait until Comet Beetos arrived again. So this idea wasn't reliable. Chen Zhao didn't have that long. He didn't have that much time. If he could simulate that red light, could he activate the white key? Just then, the people in the tents below started waking up one after another. "President, we're leaving," the people below called out. Qin Zhao waved his hand and walked down the hill. "President, you didn't sleep at all last night." "Yes," Qin Zhao said. "I was thinking about something." After boarding Alger's ship, the armed ship set off. "Lisa, come here." "President, what's up? Is there any way to deduce Comet Beto's composition with current science?" Qin Zhao asked. "Using the simplest method, I can roughly determine the composition of Comet Beto's." Lisa said, "Comet Beto's burns due to friction with the air, producing a red light. Therefore, Comet Beto's should have a large amount of calcium oxide, which produces a red light after burning. Therefore, after friction with the air in low Earth orbit, the calcium oxide produced a violent chemical reaction and broke down into oxygen and calcium, causing the red light." Calcium oxide? Is it quicklime? Is there quicklime in nature? Calcium oxide should be considered a synthetic material and was not flammable. Of course, it was not absolutely non-flammable. Under special circumstances, calcium oxide could decompose into oxygen and calcium. This is only based on the periodic table of elements on Earth. After all, Beto's comet doesn't belong to Earth, so no one knows if there are elements outside of Earth in Beto's comet. Therefore, it's also possible that it's caused by something that doesn't exist on Earth. "When we get back, get some quicklime." "What are you doing?" "Doing some research," Qin Zhao said. After leaving Nasamara, the armed ship entered the violent sea again. Qin Zhao started feeling seasick again. FIOS finally understood why she'd seen Qin Zhao get shot by her subordinates that day. Her subordinates hadn't betrayed him. Qin Zhao had asked for it himself, to help him sleep. FIOS had never seen anyone fall asleep like this. Normal people would only sleep. Then she also understood why Qin Zhao had jumped off the ship. On Alger's ship, Qin Zhao had also jumped off. Every time he woke up, the first thing he did was strip naked and jump into the sea. He didn't care about the water temperature and just jumped in. Plus, he didn't care if the ship would throw him off. Anyway, none of Qin Zhao's subordinates were worried. Qin Zhao could climb onto the ship by himself every time. This time, Qin Zhao climbed onto the ship again. FIOS stood at the edge of the ship and looked at Qin Zhao's figure. Over the past few days, she, Lisa, Hallease, and Alice had become familiar with each other. She'd heard many things about Qin Zhao. The girls concluded and told FIOS that Qin Zhao was a tyrant through and through. His temper was extremely bad and no one was allowed to disobey his orders. Of course, Qin Zhao was also very protective. "Mr. Qin, how can I join the supernatural organization?" "You don't have magic or bloodline awakening. You don't have the right to join." Qin Zhao glanced at FIOS. "Plus, many of their operations are very dangerous. Why can Mr. Klaus's lightning squad?" They were elites in the anti-terrorist force before joining. "What about you? Miss Elite, what's the point of joining the supernatural organization? Do you want us to take care of you? So, if I can train to the level of the lightning squad, I can join the supernatural organization." "Yes. If you can train to the level of Klaus's team, I'll allow you to join." What a joke. With the lightning squad's current strength, even without guns, one person could beat 20 to 30 people. FIOS had really underestimated the lightning squad. The armed ship sailed for more than a day and approached Hawaii. However, it didn't directly enter Hawaii. Instead, it stopped at a nearby island and then entered the main island with a yacht. After all, the armed ship was illegally modified. If it approached the main island rashly, there would probably be warships coming to greet them. After reaching Hawaii, the first thing Qin Zhao did was to ensure Feilai's safety. "President, should we stay in Hawaii for a day or two?" West asked. The girls seemed to want to stay and play for a day or two. "Sure, book the plane tickets for the day after tomorrow. You're free to do whatever you want today and tomorrow." Now that Haliza's problem was solved, everyone, including Chun Zhao, was free of any burden. "Oh, have we found a hotel for tonight?" "Yes," Wes said. "We can go now." Chapter 1097. It wasn't a hotel, but the interior decorations were rather luxurious. The style was also very fitting for the theme. Pirates. The front desk, the ushers, and even the security guards and cleaners were all wearing pirate outfits like in movies. After checking in, everyone went to the elevator. When the elevator door opened, Qin Zhao saw a familiar face. Guret walked out of the elevator with an eye patch. A man beside Guret bumped into Qin Zhao. "Don't you have eyes?" Before Chun Zhao could say anything, Guret had already kicked the man to the ground. "Boss!" Walking out of the elevator, Guret looked at Chun Zhao. "Mr. Chin, please. Did you open this hotel?" "I opened it with that money," Guret said, smiling. Qin Zhao waved his hand and entered the elevator with the people from the association. "Boss, do you know that guy?" the subordinate asked, feeling wronged. Guret knew that whenever his subordinate saw a woman, he couldn't help but use this method to provoke the man beside him. Most of the time, this method wouldn't get him a woman's favor, but he still liked it. He felt that this was how a man should be. Guret looked at his subordinate. "Next time you want to provoke someone, you better know who you're talking to. Otherwise, you might die without knowing why. Is that Asian some big shot? A politician or a gang?" "Butcher," Guret said indifferently. "All of us combined might not be as many as him." Hearing Guret's words, the subordinate paled in fear. Most of the people in the hotel were members of Guret's pirate crew. Basically, everyone had blood on their clothes. But hearing Guret's words, the subordinate knew that he'd offended someone important. "President, do you know that woman?" "Pirates in this area," Qin Zhao said indifferently. "Is this hotel really opened by pirates? Then would they—" "No, this hotel is very clean. It should be a proper business. Plus, they wouldn't dare to do anything to us." Thinking about it, everyone felt that Qin Zhao's words made sense. What was so scary about pirates? No matter how scary they were, could they be scarier than their president? In their eyes, no one was scarier than Qin Zhao. West knew how to behave. He booked a luxurious suite for Qin Zhao. After showering, Qin Zhao planned to lie down and have a good rest. Over the past few days at sea, Qin Zhao hadn't had a good night's sleep. This time, he could finally have a good sleep. At this moment, there was a knock on the door. Qin Zhao opened the door bare-chested. He saw Gu Lai standing at the door. "What happened to your eyes?" Guret pulled down his blindfold. "Nothing much. It's just to fit in with the hotel's theme. Mr. Chen, won't you invite me in?" "Come in." Qin Zhao moved aside. Gu Lai came in with a bottle of wine. "Do you want a drink?" "No. You must have something to talk to me about. I like to talk when I'm awake." "Mr. Chen, I won't trick you. You are a pirate." "All right, I don't dare," Gu Lai said calmly. Qin Zhao kept smiling. He wouldn't believe Guret's words. Guret was a vicious pirate. She had done many things like murder and arson. "All right, you don't have to be so courteous. Just tell me, what do you want from me?" "Mr. Qin, do you know about the Battle of the Great Ring Trench 3 years ago?" "Battle of the Great Ring Trench? You mean war?" "No," Guret said. "It's about the 4 tons of gold that Citibank transferred to the European branch. The transport plane crashed when it flew above the trench. The forces and pirates nearby all wanted to take the gold for themselves, so it started the battle. So the owner of the gold, Citibank, never thought about taking it back. After all, with Citibank's wealth, they can totally hire a strong armed force and take back the gold. Unless the country intervenes, no one can compete with Citibank's wealth. Of course, Citibank hired 2 cruisers from the Navy. It was also because of the addition of the 2 cruisers that the situation became more tense at that time. The battle finally broke out after the gold was salvaged by the warships. The two Navy warships were sunk. Chen Zhao couldn't help but look up at Guret. Someone really dared to attack the government's navy? The American Navy was known as the strongest in the world. Moreover, the American government had always been vengeful. If two cruisers were sunk, this wouldn't be over. What about the gold? Who got it in the end? No one got it, Guret said. How is that possible? It can't be that everyone died together, right? The biggest pirate group in the Pacific took the gold, Big Belly. What a weird name. Can someone really tolerate their pirate group's name? Aren't they afraid of being laughed at? They're a family pirate group, Guret said calmly. Big Belly has 400 years of history. They're the oldest pirate group. Fine, what are you trying to say? You want to fight with me for the 4 tons of gold? Big Belly has already been destroyed. Destroyed? Why? Didn't you say that they have 400 years of history? They were too confident and arrogant. They suffered from the government's revenge. After that battle, the American army found the island they were hiding on and bombed it. The entire island was almost flattened. So the gold should be in the government's hands too, right? No. Although the American army destroyed Big Belly, they didn't get the gold. On the contrary, the Navy that participated in the operation also suffered heavy losses. Why? In the face of a fleet, I'm afraid no private organization would be able to fight back, right? Big Belly has lived on Nanchi Island for generations. Just like me, they've been haunted by the curse of pirates for generations. They're also guarding the same seal, but the American bombing unlocked the seal. Nanchi Island and the surrounding waters have completely turned into hell. Countless monsters occupy that area. No one can go near that area anymore. Not interested. Chen Zhao shook his head. Why? Guret asked. She'd been very confident in convincing Chen Zhao. Moreover, Chen Zhao was the most suitable partner she could think of. Chen Zhao kept his promise. As long as she wasn't two-faced, he wouldn't take her share for himself. Plus, Chen Zhao was powerful. He was also the most capable and most likely to deal with those monsters. Chapter 1098. It's not worth it, Chen Zhao said. What was the price of 4 tons of gold? It was probably around $160 million. If Chen Zhao and Guret worked together, they'd get 2 tons of gold, which was around $80 million. If he could actually earn $80 million, Chen Zhao would go through mountains of daggers and seas of fire. But he couldn't actually earn $80 million. That was gold that couldn't see the light of day. Risfar had helped Chen Zhao deal with the gold last time. Risfar had been the one who'd helped him deal with the gold last time. But the real fee wasn't a small amount. The lowest was 30%. Such a huge cleanup would be 40% or even 50%. In other words, all the hard work he had put in had been earned by the agency. Chen Zhao would rather not have anything than do such a thankless job. So he rejected it decisively. No. Why? Tens of millions isn't worth it, Chen Zhao said honestly. Actually, Chen Zhao didn't want to work for the agency. If it was just to earn tens of millions, Chen Zhao would be happy to do it. But he couldn't accept giving half of the money to an unrelated person. Mr. Chen, I think you're mistaken. It's not just 4 tons of gold. Not just 4 tons? Didn't you say it yourself? I'm talking about Big Belly's 400 years of treasure, Guret said, his eyes flashing. For 100 years of treasure? How much is that? Conservatively speaking, no less than $500 million. Hearing this number, Chen Zhao was conflicted again. To be honest, Chen Zhao was tempted. But if he had to turn these things into money and then launder them, he'd have to earn a lot more from the agency fee. This made Chen Zhao feel very pained. In the end, Chen Zhao could only get 1/3 of the value of everything. Of course, Chen Zhao knew why the agency fee was so high. Actually, they'd taken a huge risk, but Chen Zhao still couldn't accept it. Wait, I need to make a call first. Then I can decide if I want to work with you or not. Of course. Gurette wasn't worried that Chen Zhao would leak the news. After all, she trusted Chen Zhao's credibility. She'd chosen to work with Chen Zhao because of his credibility. Not many people knew the location of Nanqi Island. Furthermore, she was the only one who knew where the treasure was hidden. Chen Zhao walked out of the balcony and called West. West, are you in the hotel? President, I brought some people out to play. Didn't you say you wanted to sleep just now? That's why I didn't call you. Let me ask you something. Speak. If I find the pirate's treasure, do you have a way to give me the actual price? President, I don't launder money. The item this time might be worth more than 200 million, Chen Zhao said. The commission can be used as our association's fund. West was silent for a long time before he finally said, President, did you find the pirate's treasure? Not yet. Someone wants to cooperate with me. President, first of all, we have to find a buyer. Then we have to go through financial channels to make the money see the light of day. We will lose a considerable amount of money. Just give me a number. If it's 200 million, how much can I get? About 120 million US dollars. How much will the association get? About 30 million. President, I'm telling you the actual price. So, 25% of the 200 million will go into someone else's pocket. President, this money can't be saved. I found a legal channel, but they won't work for us for no reason. Chen Zhao thought about it. West was the safest channel and also the one that offered the highest price. There couldn't be a channel that was cheaper than West. Moreover, 30 million would go into the association's hands. Relatively speaking, it was the most valuable channel to turn illegal into legal. After hanging up, Chen Zhao walked into the living room. When do we leave? Chen Zhao asked. We can't move right now, Gurette said. Why? Nanqi Island's location is very special. It's submerged in the sea for half a year. Only when the Pacific Ocean flows west and the water level drops will the island surface. We have to wait for half a year. No, the water level will drop by mid-March or early April. We can go to the island then. Sure. Let me know then. You have my contact number, right? Yes. What do I need to prepare? Chen Zhao asked. Prepare for battle. Not only on land, but also in the water. We might face a huge test as soon as we get close to the sea. Chen Zhao was really looking forward to it. Of course, he wasn't looking forward to the battle. He was looking forward to the rewards. After all, if everything went smoothly, Chen Zhao would become a real billionaire. Actually, with his current assets, he was already a billionaire. Mirror Lake and the surrounding land were worth at least 40 million. The yacht was also worth more than 10 million. The shares of Marina's restaurant were also worth more than 10 million. There was also his savings in the bank. Soon, Alger would have to pay him 20 million. Chen Zhao's net worth was already close to 100 million. However, because he had to build a new house, his bank savings had been emptied again. Even after the house was built, it would still cost a few million to buy the interior. Therefore, Chen Zhao's funds were still relatively tight. Now that he had a project that could earn at least 100 million, Chen Zhao was very tempted. Then it settled. Should we open a bottle of champagne to celebrate? Let's hope our cooperation goes well. Leave the wine and you can go, Chen Zhao said, smiling. My girlfriend is pregnant. I don't want to drink with another woman in a hotel room right now. Fine. Gurette put the wine on the table helplessly. Oh, $50,000 for this wine. I'll put it on your account. With that, Gurette turned around and left elegantly. Fuck, $50,000? I don't want this wine anymore. Come back. Unfortunately, Gurette left too quickly. Chen Zhao could only reluctantly leave the $50,000 champagne. However, he really couldn't bear to open the bottle. He had never spent $50,000 on a bottle of wine in his life. Chapter 1099. Chen Zhao suddenly remembered. Back then on Nasamara Island, when the Beidou's comet came, there was still blood on the altar. The blood of the San Siko family. Qin Zhao remembered that Haraz, Adam, and Ava had all released their blood. Wait, no. Their blood wasn't to activate the white key, but to draw out the red key. According to Haraz, the white key used to be Nasamara's copper ore. Everyone could use it. The only difference was whether they had a special bloodline or not. So, only the San Siko family could use it. Because everyone could use it, the San Siko family wanted to create a key that only the family could use. The way to use Nasamara's ore was to pierce someone's palm and stain it with blood. It would determine the person's bloodline and stimulate the awakening of the bloodline. In other words, the problem wasn't the Beidou's comet, but blood. More accurately, it was reacting to demon blood. Qin Zhao cut his right palm and dragged the wound. He dripped the blood from the mouth of gluttony onto the white key. The white key started absorbing Qin Zhao's blood. However, the white key only absorbed it. It didn't have any other reaction. Qin Zhao sat on the ground and stared at the white key for a long time. Suddenly, he had an idea. From the current situation, the white key didn't just activate someone's bloodline. It also absorbed it. It absorbed someone's special bloodline, transformed it, and then returned it to the user. What was the point of doing this? The Agama Bridge, Nasamara's path to heaven. The key wasn't to take people somewhere. It was to elevate their bodies or souls. Why did the San Siko family use the blood of tens of thousands of people to make a fake key? There were two possibilities. One was that someone told them to do this. The other was that they'd researched it themselves. Why did they research it? Because the Nasamara ore was bloodthirsty. It sucked blood. So the San Siko family thought that they could use blood to create the red key. And a lot of blood. The Nasamara all needed to absorb a lot of blood. And human blood wasn't effective. It needed demon blood. A lot of demon blood to truly activate the white key. It seemed that he had to go to hell soon. Wasn't Beelzebub Zophi waging war on other territories? In that case, he would definitely be able to collect a lot of evil demon blood. He could use this opportunity to verify his conjecture. Qin Zhao walked out of room 01. The people from the association were more diligent today. Henry was directing the work of the captives. He was now the manager of the association. Although he was not an official member, he was still an official. President, can you give me the deep abyss demon you caught last time? Harid asked, approaching Qin Zhao. Sure, but you have to tell me what you want to do with the fiend abyssal demons. I want to use it to make my corpse demon. You can turn abyss demons into corpse demons. Qin Zhao asked in surprise. After all, Qin Zhao could also use the dark serum to control the demons, just like how he could control the two mothers. But this way, he would need to use up a large amount of dark serum, which wasn't worth it. Thus, Qin Zhao wasn't interested in the demon's corpse. Qin Zhao preferred monsters that weren't very big but were very powerful. For example, the mother's body had extraordinary combat power. Of course, Qin Zhao's control could only use the speed and strength of the monster's body. He couldn't use other abilities. Harid shook her head. I don't have enough power to control it yet, but I want to take it slow. I'll deal with the corpse demon first, and then control it when I'm strong enough. Okay, put the demon's corpse in the basement. After all, it's too eye-catching. Just then, Qin Zhao's phone rang. Hey, Stephen. How come you're free to call me today? Qin, where's Wang He? The crew is going to start work in a few days. I need him to report. I'll tell him to go today. Oh, and you said last time that you're going to introduce me to the crew. Okay, I'll bring him over. I'll give you the address. Call me when you get there. Gaia. Qin Zhao turned around and called into the building. Gaia poked her head out from the rooftop. What? Where's Wang He? You and him have to report to the crew today. Oh, he's in my gym. Gaia jumped down from the rooftop. The 4-story height posed no threat to her. Gaia couldn't fall from a height of a few hundred meters without getting hurt. However, it shouldn't be difficult for her to fall within 30 meters. Chen Zhao and Gaia went to the gym together. Hey, Wang He's over there. Chen Zhao looked over and saw Wang He practicing his punches against a sandbag. It had to be said that in just over a month, Wang He seemed to have been reborn. His sweatshirt was completely soaked and his skin was darker. Wang He probably wouldn't be able to be a little fresh meat anymore after returning to China. However, he already had a good foundation, so he looked even more manly now. It seemed that he did have a tough and resolute temperament. Wang He, Qin Zhao called out. Wang He turned his head and looked at him. Mr. Qin, why are you here? Steven's crew is going to start filming in a few days. You have to report to the crew. Come with us. Okay, I'll clean up. Wang He had really changed. In the past, he would need at least an hour to put on makeup. Now he only needed 10 minutes to wash up and change. Then he would change into a celebrity suit, cap, and sunglasses. This was overseas, and not many people knew Wang He. However, ever since Wang He was chosen as the male lead in Steven's new movie, Wang He's news in China never stopped. Many entertainment media outlets sent reporters to Los Angeles to look for him. In the car, Chen Zhao would occasionally observe Wang He from the corner of his eyes. Compared to his previous flamboyance, Wang He was more reserved now. More accurately, he was more mature now. Gaia is also the martial arts director. If you have anything you don't understand during filming, you can ask her. Ms. Gaia, please take care of me in the future. Wang He wouldn't run away anymore. At the beginning of training, Wang He had been thinking about how to avoid training almost every day. However, ever since he was severely punished by Gaia, Wang He knew that he couldn't escape. Soon the crew arrived. The security guard didn't recognize Qin Zhao's car, but he recognized Qin Zhao. Chapter 1100. Qin Zhao had been to 2 or 3 film crews before. He was basically familiar with the filming process. Wang He didn't report to the crew today because they were going to start filming. Instead, he was familiar with the director, the crew, and the other actors. That way, he could film better. Hi, Qin. You're finally willing to appear before me. I think you've been missing recently. Seeing Chen Zhao, Steven walked up and gave him a warm hug. Steven, let me introduce you to my combat coach, Gaia. In addition to being the director of movements for the crew, she can also be used as the crew's security. Unless it's the Department of Defense that comes looking for trouble, I think she should be able to solve all problems. Hi, Ms. Gaia. We've met before. Steven walked up and shook hands with Gaia. Steven and Gaia had met at Chen Zhao's party. More accurately, they hadn't met. They'd only met once. However, because of Gaia's figure and Steven's professional habits, Gaia's special figure left a deep impression on him. Gaia's figure was one of the rarer special actors in the film industry. She was mainly used as a stunt double. Of course, Gaia wasn't just a special actor. She could also be used as a stuntman. She could basically meet all of Steven's requirements. The pay of special actors was also relatively high. Some outstanding special actors were even paid more than the 3rd or 4th role in the movie. Ms. Gaia, I have no problem with your abilities, but there are some things you must know. We're shooting a movie. Apart from being realistic, the action must also have a sense of the scene. What was a sense of the scene? For example, when a soldier fought with a regular person, the outcome would be decided in one move. But this kind of fight would not have a sense of the scene. The director of a film crew didn't teach you how to knock someone down in the shortest time. Instead, he taught the actors how to make beautiful moves and complete some difficult moves. Of course, I understand. I'll do my best to cooperate with Mr. Steven. Gaia wouldn't be proud to say that she didn't want to teach the fancy moves in the film. Stubborn people weren't easy to get along with. Movies were movies, but fights were fights. Ms. Gaia, if a person wants to climb up to a 5-story building in the shortest time, what should they do? What tools do they need? Steven trusted Chen Zhao, but he still wanted to test Gaia. After all, he attached great importance to movies. Chun Zhao smiled but didn't say anything. He looked at Gaia. I can demonstrate, Gaia said. Demonstration. Stephen was surprised. Chun Zhao leaned close to Gaia and whispered, Try to be fancy. Don't be too direct. I know. Gaia looked around. What do you think of this building? Next to the crew was an office building that was 8 or 9 stories high. Isn't that too high? Stephen asked. After all, if he made a mistake, he could easily get hurt. Gaia hadn't signed the contract yet, but she was still his friend. So if Gaia got hurt because of the demonstration, it would be hard for Stephen to stand by and watch. I won't. Gaia walked up to the office building and studied it. Then Gaia sprinted and stopped 2 meters away from the office building. Gaia suddenly exerted strength and leaped onto a 2-meter-tall trash can. What an amazing jumping ability! Stephen's eyes lit up. Gaia didn't stop. She jumped toward the window on the 2nd floor and put 1 foot on the window. But Gaia only used the momentum to jump up and grab the air conditioner on the 3rd floor. Then she leaped up and did a somersault in the air. She was already on the 4th floor. The whole process took less than 30 seconds. Stephen and Wang He were already dumbfounded. But Gaia didn't stop. She continued climbing. In the process of climbing, Gaia kept playing all kinds of tricks. Soon, in a minute and a half, Gaia was on the roof of the office building. Ms. Gaia, it's done. Come down. Gaia glanced at the outer wall of the office building. Then she grabbed a drainage pipe and slid down, landing smoothly on the ground. Stephen's face was bright red. He was clearly very excited. Ms. Gaia, when can we sign the contract? One had to admit that Gaia's performance was too amazing. Putting aside Gaia's fighting skills, just based on her performance just now, she was definitely the best in this field. As long as she had this skill, she would be able to get the highest pay as a stunt performer. Gaia has other skills. She's good with all kinds of guns, planes, helicopters, tanks, submarines, deep diving, skydiving, and even driving. Gaia is a legendary super agent, right? Gaia is a retired soldier. She used to be an instructor in the Marine Corps, Qin Zhao said. Qin, you've brought me a perfect action actress. Wang He also trained with Gaia for a month. He can't do what Gaia does, but his foundation is pretty solid. Qin Zhao seemed to be praising himself. Of course, I believe you. Stephen was indeed worried that Chun Zhao was doing him a favor, but their movie this time was an action movie. Choreography was a very important job. Stephen was worried that if the person Chun Zhao recommended didn't pass, it would be troublesome for him. Now, Stephen wasn't worried at all. Gaia's job in the crew wasn't as simple as acting. She could also act as military director. For example, she could give the most professional guidance on what equipment the police used, the army used, and the bandits used. For example, she could point out what was reasonable and what wasn't for an operation. In the police and action movies we usually watch, there was actually a lot of research on what equipment the characters used. Ordinary people might not be able to understand it, but film critics or even some military experts could understand it. Or how a regular person made a bomb would require military experts to explain. Gaia, how about a role in the movie? Stephen asked. I have a great idea. You can be the Easter egg in the first episode and lead to the character in the sequel. Maybe you'll be the big boss in the 2nd episode. Chapter 11:01. Stephen and Gaia chatted happily. It was obvious that they wanted to work together. Stephen could accept most of the basic conditions. Coupled with Chun Zhao's face, Stephen accepted it without hesitation. Because Gaia and Wang He needed to stay on set and familiarize themselves with the environment, Qin Zhao left alone. Chun Zhao went to Marina Restaurant, mainly to see how it was doing. Marina Restaurant was doing well. Chun Zhao didn't need to check the accounts every day. It made about $300,000 to $400,000 of profit every month. Chun Zhao only needed to go to the restaurant once a month. The accountant would also send him the bills every month. Marina Restaurant was a very high-quality business. Without Amira's help, Chen Zhao wouldn't have been able to buy 60% of Marina Restaurant shares. Of course, as Chen Zhao's partner, Nafa Twain didn't lose money. After all, he'd gotten a good deal from Amira. When Chen Zhao arrived at the restaurant, it was noon. There were quite a lot of people, but there wasn't a long line like last time. The restaurant would only have so many customers during business hours in the evening. Chen Zhao sat at the counter and chatted with the staff, learning about the restaurant. Just then, someone patted his shoulder. Turning around, Chen Zhao saw that it was Li Qiong, but there was a man beside her. "Old friend, why are you here?" Li Qiong was confused. If Chen Zhao was a customer here, he wouldn't be sitting at the counter. "Oh, I came over for something," Chen Zhao said. "This is—" "Hi, I'm Max." The man reached out to shake Chen Zhao's hand. "A blind date," Li Qiong said in Mandarin. "He looks good. I wish you success." "Thank you, but I won't chat with you anymore." Li Qiong knew her limits. She was dating Max. She couldn't leave him aside just because she'd met Chen Zhao. After the two sat down, the waiter came over to take their orders. "Li, is that gentleman your ex-boyfriend?" Max asked. "No, he's my high school classmate," Li Qiong answered. Li Qiong replied, "But I haven't seen him for many years. It should be 10 years. "Good. Looks like he's not my competitor." Max was quite humorous. Li Qiong was a little surprised. After interacting with Max, she felt that he was a very confident person. Moreover, Max's conditions were enough to support his confidence. He graduated from a prestigious university and was now a senior executive of a company. Coupled with his good looks and humorous way of talking, it was hard to imagine what would happen next. "Do you know him?" Li Qiong asked. "No." Max shook his head. "Then why are you worried that he will become your competitor? Didn't you see the account book of this restaurant in his hand? He's a partner or owner of this restaurant. At least he's rich. The person holding the account book might not be the partner or the boss. It could be the accountant." After saying that, Li Qiong paused. She remembered that Chen Zhao was a professor at UCLA and a medical major at that. It was impossible for him to become an accountant of a restaurant. After all, an accountant needed an accounting certificate. Li Qiong suddenly realized that she couldn't understand Chen Zhao anymore. In high school, this boy was not good-looking and did not have outstanding grades. When they met again, it was as if they didn't even recognize each other. He was also so successful in his career. It was much better than she had imagined. The person standing behind the counter is the manager of the restaurant. Do you think a regular accountant can make the manager stand across from him while he sits? Just then, a waiter came to the table with a plate of Australian prawns. "This isn't what we ordered," Max said. "Hi, Mr. Chen treated you to this." Li Qiong looked up at the counter, but Chen Zhao had already left. "Li, are you sure your high school friend isn't interested in you?" "He already has his own family." "Fine." Max smiled bitterly. "Oh, my company has an event this weekend. Are you interested in going with me?" "What event?" Li Qiong had a good impression of Max. At least Max met all 3 of Li Qiong's requirements. He was young, rich, educated, and good-looking. However, Chen Zhao kept popping up in Li Qiong's mind. She always felt that Max was a little lacking compared to Chen Zhao. "It's an executive party at Michelle Manor. Sorry, I'm afraid I don't have time this weekend." Li Qiong rejected in a roundabout way. "Fine." Max was smart and didn't continue pestering her. "Max, I'm curious. Why would a man like you listen to your family's arrangements and go on a blind date? You don't seem like someone who lacks women. Before I was 25, I had a lot of experience in relationships, but after that, I completely focused on work. As a result, I've been single for the past 3 years. My parents want a grandchild. Okay, I don't mean to treat women as birth machines. I just think that it's time to start a family. I thought it was only in China that parents would urge their children to get married. What about you? You don't seem like a woman without any pursuers." Contrary to you, I've been looking for a job. I don't have time to think about it. I have time to focus on relationships. Li Qiong had been looking for a job recently, but it was really difficult to find one that satisfied her. Her education was neither high nor low. The positions that required her were either not qualified enough or the pay was too low. She didn't like them at all. Coupled with her lack of work experience, many jobs had passed her by. Li Qiong hadn't worked since graduation. Either the pay was low, the position was low, or she wasn't qualified enough. Our company is looking for a business manager, Max said. If you're interested, you can try. Of course, I don't have the final say on this. Okay, thank you. For the weekend party, you can also go and meet the executives of our company. That way, you'll have a better chance of passing the interview. Max, don't you want to invite a girl you admire? I can't find a suitable girl right now, but if I go to the party alone, I'll be embarrassed. So, I hope you can help me save the situation. Then, may I have the honor to invite you to the party? Chapter 1102. Senior Lit, what do you want to drink? I'll go buy it for you. Senior Lit, are you free tonight? 2 bitches. A few girls surrounded Lit Grove. Lit Grove's grades weren't great, but his father was the famous movie star, Drow Grove. Moreover, when Lit Grove picked up girls, he would always use his father's name. He would also tell girls that he would invite anyone to a celebrity's party. Plus, with his outstanding appearance, he always had a group of fangirls in school. Every time Lit Grove came to school, many girls would fight for his affections. Li Mu and her best friend, Vestana, sat on a bench in the school. Lit Grove and a few girls walked past them. Vestana, who's that guy? Lit Grove, the famous playboy in school. Don't tell me you're interested in him? I'm not crazy. Li Mu rolled her eyes. Plus, there are many guys more handsome than him in school. His dad's a Hollywood star. No wonder he's so popular. Just then, Li Mu saw Chen Zhao walk toward Lit Grove. Then, Lit Grove chased the girls around him away. Like a servant, he nodded and bowed to Chen Zhao. Ah, Professor Chen, he's the same as you. We're both from China. You know him? Li Mu asked, surprised. Professor Chen is the person our school can't afford to offend. Why? The boxing club has spread the word that anyone who messes with Professor Chen at school is their enemy. Is Professor Chen familiar with the boxing club? The boxing club star Tiger is his student. Tiger? That Tiger who won last year's WBA championship belt? Yes, that's him. Teacher. Lit Grove immediately became obedient when he saw Qin Zhao. Ever since he heard Eris talk about their experience at sea and on Nasamara, Lit Grove was very unwilling. Lit Grove was very unwilling. He also wanted to experience this kind of adventure. When this experience came out of the mouth of others, it seemed very thrilling and exciting. Chen Zhao fought against an old witch who had lived for more than 300 years. It made Lit Grove's blood boil with excitement. He really hoped that Chen Zhao could bring him along on his next adventure. I heard from the people at Chantilly Hospital that you've been working very hard recently. Chen Zhao glanced at Ritter Grove. If you can continue, your punishment can be reduced by half a year. Teacher, I don't need to shorten my time. As long as you take me with you next time, it'll be fine. Chen Zhao was surprised. He thought that Lit Grove would be eager to get rid of his job as a morgue guard. After all, even Qin Zhao himself might not be able to endure that place. Actually, Qin Zhao had underestimated Little Grove. After spending 2 days and 2 nights in the crypt demon's lair, Lit Grove was much braver. Plus, after coming into contact with supernatural incidents, he knew that evil spirits were not that big of a deal. He even got to know quite a few evil spirits in the headquarters of the association. To put it simply, people were afraid because they were resistant to the unknown. But after getting familiar with them, it didn't seem to be that big of a deal. The corpses in the morgue were actually just that. Talk to me about going on an adventure when your grades are good enough, Qin Zhao said. Lick Grove immediately stopped talking. His mind wasn't on his studies anymore. However, after his bloodline awakened, he realized that his mind was much more flexible. "Teacher, I'll try my best." Lick Grove was conflicted. Should he ask Maggie for tutoring? Of Chun Zhao's 4 students, Maggie was the best academically. The other 3 students all had their own plans. Lapal had dreams of becoming a star and was a model. Evely was a sports star and swimming legend. Lick Grove, on the other hand, was a rich and famous father, and he was more interested in supernatural events. Only Maggie wanted to be a doctor wholeheartedly. Of course, this also had to do with Maggie's family background and environment. Maggie's family was very poor. Not only was she interning at Chantilly Hospital, but she also had a part-time job as a cashier in a supermarket. If she could graduate successfully and get assigned to Chantilly Hospital, she could at least improve her life. So, she worked very hard in her studies and internship. Putting aside Evely, Qin Zhao liked Maggie the most out of the 3 students. Maggie's original motivation was money, but at least she would work hard for it. At the very least, she was very dedicated and serious in her job. There was nothing wrong with studying and working hard for money. Qin Zhao didn't think there was anything wrong with this. Did one have to practice to be a doctor? Go do your own thing. I'll go check out the swimming pool. When Qin Zhao arrived, he saw many students watching the swimming team's competition in the audience seats. Qin Zhao easily found Evely. "Evely, slow down, slow down. You can't do this. You have to listen to my tactics." Qin Zhao saw a big-bellied coach yelling from the shore. Qin Zhao frowned. What's wrong with this coach? Evely was very energetic. She could maintain this speed until 600 meters and then sprint in the last 200 meters. Evely slowing down now didn't mean she could sprint faster in the last 200 meters. After 800 meters, Evely climbed onto the shore. The coach immediately ran over and yelled at Evely, "Evely, you didn't follow my tactics again." Evely, on the other hand, was drying her hair with a towel. She ignored the coach's chatter. "Your tactical arrangements have lowered my time by at least 20 seconds. You don't understand. You're not used to my rhythm yet. After you get used to it, you'll swim faster than your original time." The coach was very excited. He could almost see Evely using his tactics in the competition to swim better than her original record. Then, through Evely, he would receive attention and become famous. He felt that he had completely grasped Evely's data. As long as she listened to him, she would definitely swim better. "Evely." Qin Zhao walked over. "Are you done training?" "Yes." Seeing Qin Zhao, Evely's eyes brightened. In terms of training, the only person she would listen to was Qin Zhao. Even when she was training with the national team, the coach of the national team couldn't control her. After all, the only indicator on the national team was results. Evely had enough qualifications to resist any request. She would only follow Qin Zhao's training requirements. Chapter 11:03. You're Evely's coach. Qin Zhao turned to look at the coach before him. Yes, Zabi actually knew Qin Zhao. After all, Qin Zhao was the school team leader for the sports event. However, Zabi had never liked Qin Zhao. He felt that Qin Zhao had only become the team leader because of Tiger. Of course, he hadn't planned on having a conflict with Qin Zhao. But now, Qin Zhao wanted to pull Evely away. He couldn't take it anymore. In his opinion, Evely had to train according to his methods. Only then could she get good results. Only then could he have a chance to become a famous coach. He just had to think about what kind of rewards he would receive after Evely shocked the world. Zabi felt a bit excited. Evely was also the best stepping stone for his chance to become famous. Your training method isn't good, Qin Zhao said matter-of-factly. How can you say that my training method isn't good? I'm a professional coach. I have a swimming coach certificate. I'm a second-level national coach. So what? Did you train any famous students? Qin Zhao looked at Zabi. Did you? Zabi retorted. If he had any famous students, would he go to a university to be a coach? Qin Zhao pointed at him. I trained Evely. What do you think of her? Nonsense. How can you train Evely? Coach Zabi, you better be more polite to Qin. When I broke the women's world record for the first time, and when I broke the men's world record, Chan was the one who specially trained me. You have no right to shout in front of him. Zabi's expression froze. Evely was the best proof. If she admitted it, then he was her coach. Reorganizing his words, Zabi said, Evely, you're so talented. It doesn't matter who trains you, but you're at a bottleneck now. Normal people can't help you improve at all. Only a professional coach like me can. Evely didn't think so. After all, her results in the school team had barely been outstanding. Outside of school, any professional athlete could easily beat her. She couldn't even break the school record, let alone the men's world record. But Qin Zhao was the best proof. Qin Zhao's greatest help to her was training her stamina. Evely could clearly feel that she could even participate in the decathlon. Nothing was clearer than this proof. Her results also proved that Qin Zhao's training was effective. Evely's results also proved that Qin Zhao's training method was effective. As long as you swim according to my method, you'll definitely do well. You'll even break your previous record. As long as you swim according to my method, you will definitely get a good result. You might even break your previous record. Let me ask you, before this, did you teach any outstanding disciples? Evely continued to ask. Not in the past, but you will be my most outstanding achievement. Sorry, I'm not interested in becoming your disciple. Also, I'll apply to the school to reject your training later. If the school doesn't agree, then I'll refuse to participate in the competition. Qin R Zhao R Qin. You can Qin. Zhao him. You Qin. Zhao can Zhao can do Zhao can zs Qin Zhao Zhao hu. At a Qin. At Zhao Z, Zhao he, Zhao the Zhao Zhao. If Evely didn't participate, the school would be in big trouble. After all, the school had received sponsorship fees. And why would the merchants give sponsorship fees? Because of Evely. If it was a normal competition, the school would have to spend at least a few $1 million to sponsor the competition. Evely's sponsorships could reach tens of millions of dollars. After all, Evely's audience was too big. She was even more popular than the sports event itself. But now, only a few $100,000 could be used to sponsor the games. What could be more worthwhile than this? Because of that, the school would never allow Evely to withdraw from the competition. Zabi had no right to speak in front of Evely. Qin Zhao glanced at Zabi. He asked for it. Zabi's face was red, and he glared at Evely with anger. Let's go for a walk, he said. Okay, let me change my clothes. Evely quickly changed her clothes. Ignoring Zabi's hateful and angry gaze, he followed Qin Zhao and left. I remember that the previous coach was Mr. Kunk. Where's Mr. Kunk? Qin Zhao asked, confused. The previous coach wasn't very talented, but Qin Zhao had a good impression of him. At least he wouldn't randomly change the students' swimming habits. Before Qin Zhao took over Evely's training, Kunk had always been the school's swimming coach. Mr. Kunk became famous because of me. Then he received an invitation from the French national team to be their coach. Qin Zhao really didn't expect Kunk to be the coach of the French team. What do you think? Are you angry that Mr. Kunk took the fruits of your training? No, I have a good impression of Mr. Kunk. Qin Zhao's way of doing things was that he wouldn't care about people he liked. If he didn't like someone, he would torture them to death. When Qin Zhao wanted to train Evely, Kunk had been very accommodating. He didn't make things difficult for Evely or Qin Zhao. Qin, I'll swim for 7 minutes first. Everyone was ambitious. At first, Evely only wanted to win the championship in last year's sports event. Who knew that she would swim a world record? Of course, the world record back then didn't count. After all, the sports event wasn't an international competition. However, Evely had entered the national team because of that. Then, her journey to the top began. When she broke the men's world record, her reputation reached the peak. But now, she wanted to improve further. But her current result was already very scary. After all, her best record was 12 seconds faster than the men's world record. What else could she do now? Either he would change the event, or he would completely trample on this record. Chen Zhao wanted to refuse instinctively. Evely immediately added, 10 days, $10 million. Are you paying or is your family paying? Chapter 1104. To be honest, it was hard for Chen Zhao to reject the price. However, Chen Zhao did not agree immediately. Evely, even I'm not confident that I can help you swim for 7 minutes. I want 10 million for 10 days of training, Evely said. I don't mean that you have to help me swim for 7 minutes. Fine, I really can't reject your price. In the end, Chen Zhao gave in to the evil money. Then, when do we start training? The sports meet starts on the 27th, Chen Zhao said. Let's start training next week. You can use the sports meet to prove your results. Oh, why don't you switch to other swimming events? I don't want to tire myself out, Evely said. Evely was actually very similar to Chen Zhao. They were both hedonists. If she participated in other events, such as 100-meter freestyle, 200 for 100 or even 1500 she was confident that she could win the world championship. She was confident that she could win the world championship and even the world record. However, it was very difficult for her to beat all the records like 800-meter freestyle. If she won the other championships, it would not necessarily be the icing on the cake. If she regretted it, it would drag down her current reputation. Her manager thought so too, unless Evely could greatly improve her results in other events. You can try other events so that you won't lose interest. Okay, I'll try the 400 and 1,500-meter freestyle events this time. That's right. At least I feel like my training is paying off. 10 million for 10 days. 1 day is 1 million. I don't think there's anything more convincing than this. I still hope that you can prove the results of my training with your results. Oh, there's a party this weekend. Come with me. I want to sleep at home, Chen Zhao said honestly. Please, Evely said. I need someone to help me block some disturbances. What kind of party? It's an executive party for my endorsement company. Why would you accept a party like that? You should at least have a student party. I can't help it. The price they offered is too high. It's so high that even I can't refuse it. Although their party is an executive party, it's actually a negotiation between their company's boss and their business partners. I'm actually there to support their company, and the appearance fee of $1 million. Do I have any reason to refuse? Chen Zhao couldn't help but click his tongue. Was it really that easy for top athletes to earn money? He was actually paid $1 million to attend a party. It was even faster than the speed at which he earned money. Why don't you find a bodyguard to go with you? He can be your male companion. Don't you think that teachers should protect their students? Just this once? Just this once, I promise you. All right, give me the address. As my partner, you should at least pick me up with a car. My cargo truck. Are you sure you want me to pick you up? Didn't you drive a sports car before? Although it's my girlfriend's car, it's definitely the worst thing I've ever bought. Ever since my girlfriend got pregnant, we've never driven that car again. It's not as comfortable as the minivan. The pursuit of a sports car was perfection in appearance and extreme power. Although they had been constantly improving the interior experience, there was only so much space, and it was still unable to truly allow the driver to experience true comfort. Forget it. Come and pick me up. You can drive a car from my house. I don't want to go to the party in a small truck. Can I refuse? You've already promised me. If I knew this would happen, I would have refused you directly. When Chen Zhao returned home, He saw that Jerlin was playing with a skull. Stunned, Chen Zhao looked up at Fei Lai. Fei Lai, why did you buy a toy like that for Jerlin? Chen Zhao asked, surprised. That's a real skull. It's your mail. I opened it. When Jerlin saw it, she snatched it and played with it herself. If I forcefully took it away, she'd cry. Chen Zhao opened his mouth and turned to look at Jerlin. The skull was 1/3 of Jerlin's size. To be honest, Jerlin looked pretty cute hugging a skull. But the key was this thing was a skull. Even Chen Zhao didn't want to hug a skull. Of course, he didn't want Jerlin to hug a skull either. Which Shoal sent it to me. It's there. It's the same woman called Vanity from last time. Chen Zhao's face darkened. This woman had mailed him the metal object last time. He'd thought it was a treasure map, so he and Fei Lai went out to sea to find it. In the end, it was a huge hole. This time, she'd mailed him a skull. What was she trying to do? Did she have to mess up his life? Jerlin, give this to Daddy. No. It's Jerlin's. Jerlin hugged the skull and ran out. Chen Zhao chased after her and grabbed her by the back of her collar. No, don't take Jerlin's. Give it to me. Chen Zhao snatched it by force. He didn't know if it was dangerous. Chen Zhao really didn't feel safe letting Jerlin hug it. Daddy, give it to me. Jerlin burst into tears. Chen Zhao handed Jerlin to Fei Lai. Fei Lai, in the future, don't open anything from this Vanity woman. Who knows what's inside? At least open it when I'm around. Who's this Vanity? An explorer. I've gone on 2 expeditions with her. Anything she sends can't be normal. Could there be some magic or curse in it? Fei Lai also felt that she'd been too rash. She hadn't thought about it at first, because Chen Zhao would open packages for her before. She'd often opened packages for him too. The 2 of them had never hidden anything from each other. Hearing Chen Zhao say this, especially with a skull in the package, Fei Lai instantly felt that she'd been too rash. No, Vanity doesn't know magic, but she only interacts with and studies ancient civilizations and ruins. Sometimes she'll encounter supernatural creatures. She might not even know what she's sending, so we should be careful. If you're curious, call me. Okay, Chen, I was wrong. No, you weren't wrong. Chapter 1105. Chen Zhao tossed the skull in his hand. Fei Lai, on the other hand, was expressionless and fearless. Every time the skull was tossed, little Jerlin would reach out and try to catch it. That was how their family was. They didn't show any signs of resistance towards this kind of thing. Fei Lai knew that this was what Chen Zhao usually came into contact with. Chen Zhao had seen even scarier things before. Therefore, a mere skull was no different from an everyday item at home. Chen, show me the head. He tossed the skull to Fei Lai. Fei Lai took the skull and knocked on the top of the skull. Empty. Chen Zhao couldn't help but roll his eyes. From the texture of the skull, it was probably quite old. Of course, the skull was empty. It couldn't have been chopped off just now. Chen Zhao had been tricked by Vanity last time. Now he really had the urge to crush the skull. Destroying the item was the safest way to deal with it. However, Chen Zhao still had that curiosity in him. This curiosity made him unable to make up his mind. At the same time, he felt that he just had to be careful. He probably wouldn't fall into the same pit twice. Woof woof! Just then, Walter rushed over, grabbed the skull in his mouth, and ran out. Help! Chen Zhao and Fei Lai exchanged glances. Who shouted for help just now? It looks like that skull. Wanda, come back. Walter held the skull in his mouth and hid behind the door frame. Dogs love to bite bones, and Walter was no exception. There weren't many bones at home for it to chew. Now that it finally had one, it didn't want to give it back. However, like a child who had done something wrong, it hid behind the door frame and looked at them with one eye. Bring that thing over. This bone is for you. Chen Zhao took out an unknown bone from his spatial ring. The bone was more than 1 meter long and as thick as a thigh. There was still some flesh on it. The owner of this bone must have been quite large, when he was alive. Qin Zhao tossed the bone before Walter. Walter immediately dropped the skull and started gnawing on the huge bone. Qin Zhao walked up and picked up the skull. He looked at its eyes. You were the one who made that sound. The skull did not respond again. Qin, let me see. I've never seen a talking skull before. Fei Lai was very interested in the skull, but no matter what she said, it wouldn't speak. Walter, since this one can't talk, it's yours. Don't. The skull spoke again. Are you finally willing to speak? Let's talk it out. Don't throw me to the dogs, the skull said. Holding the skull, Fei Lai asked curiously, Chen, what's this? Evil spirit? I don't know. Qin Zhao shook his head. That's weird. I'll ask a professional tomorrow. Who are you? Fei Lai asked. Lady, hello, I'm Undead Hanks. Undead Hanks? Won't you die? As you can see, even if all that's left of me is a skull, I'm still alive. Then what are you now? Technically speaking, I'm still human because my soul is perfectly preserved, Undead Hank said. What if I throw you into a fire? If I burn you to ashes, will you still be alive? Other than dogs, no other method can kill me. My head can't be destroyed. Really? Let me try. I was once thrown into magma and crushed by machines, but I recovered. Why? Qin Zhao asked curiously. I was once cursed by immortality and then received the Holy Spirit's blessing. The curse and blessing canceled each other out, so I became what I am now. Then why did you say dogs can kill you? Because my pet dog and I were once stranded on a deserted island. To survive, I ate my dog. From then on, my pet dog turned into an evil spirit and kept pestering me. What about now? It's sealed, so dogs are the only creatures that can kill me. It should be the evil spirit of your pet dog, right? Other dogs can kill you too? I don't know, but I'm already traumatized by dogs. Okay, let's not talk about that for now. Tell me why Fanity sent you to me as a package. I don't know either. Before this, I was always in deep sleep. Walter, go get little 3 and the others. Woof, woof, Walter barked loudly. A while later, Cerberus came out of the forest. Ever since Qin Zhao's land had expanded, Cerberus didn't want to return to the basement anymore. It had enough space to move around, and there weren't many people in this area. Even if someone came, Cerberus would avoid them. When Cerberus appeared at the door, Undead Hank's teeth chattered in fear. Wait, what are you doing? Qin Zhao tossed the skull in the air. Cerberus kept drooling before Qin Zhao. I want to know the truth. Okay. I don't know who Fanity is, but the person who sent me the package told me to bring an Asian to Treasure Island. Treasure Island? Qin Zhao and Fei Lai exchanged glances. Then Qin Zhao asked, What Treasure Island? The legendary place where the Pirate King's treasure is buried. Legendary? Is that even a legend to you? I've been to Treasure Island, but I died on Treasure Island. As for whether the Pirate King's treasure is really buried on Treasure Island, I don't know either. Aren't you immortal? I mean, I became like this. I was originally like you. I'm a living person. Who are you? The person who sent you to me and told you to bring me to Treasure Island? This made Qin Zhao easily think of Fanity's package last time, which had lured him into the pit. Would he fall for such an obvious trap again? Where's Treasure Island? I don't know the exact location. Are you messing with me? No, I'm serious. I can only find the right direction with the sea breeze. Also, did Fanity tell you to bring me a message? Sir, I don't know the Fanity you mentioned, but from the name, Fanity should be a female. The person who sent me the package is male. Male? That's right. From his physical characteristics, I can be sure that he's a male. Qin Zhao fell into deep thought. The package was named Fanity, but the person who sent it was male. Chapter 1106. Are there a lot of treasures on the island? This was what Qin Zhao was most concerned about. If there really were countless treasures that Qin Zhao wouldn't have to worry about food for the rest of his life, he would be willing to take the risk. I don't know if there are treasures on the island, but there's the spring of immortality. To be honest, Chen Zhao didn't really believe that the spring of immortality existed in this world. Even a great lord like Beelzebub Zophi had to wage war to extend his life. Could a human really have the spring of immortality? If there really was a fountain of immortality, then where was the Pirate King now? I drank the spring of immortality, so I got the curse of immortality. Curse of immortality? Is that a curse? In some movies, it was said that immortality was a curse. Chen Zhao felt that the happiness should be greater than the pain. The curse of immortality is that after I drank the spring, my body started rotting. Only dogs can free me. Then why don't you free yourself? Don't be silly. Even though my current state is terrible, it's better than real death. I don't want to disappear completely. You said that the evil spirit that your pet dog turned into a sealed. That's right, it was that person who sealed my dog, and he also used magic to bless me and dispel my curse. But you're still alive after dispelling it. Yes, I'm still alive. That person didn't expect that his magic would conflict with the curse. I became a real undying skeleton. The person you're talking about is the person who mailed you to me? Yes. In other words, that person actually knows the location of the island. I don't know. He found me and used a blessing spell on me. After that, I lost consciousness. When I returned to human society, 100 years had passed. I realized that the entire world had become unfamiliar. 100 years! 100 years ago, I was a very famous explorer. In the past, I was called the Great Hanks by the public. You've been on the island for so long. What dangers are there? Crazy and dangerous plants, giant snakes guarding the ruins, blind eyes wandering by the sea, upside-down palaces, and some evil hidden underground. Tell me in detail. No matter how the plants on Treasure Island are destroyed, they will grow back in a very short period of time. I once tried to ignite all the plants on the island, but I couldn't do it at all. I lit a large area, but the fire quickly extinguished itself. Then, the burned plants will grow back in a few hours. These plants will take the initiative to attack living things. Hank said, then there's the big snake that guards the ruins. It's a super big snake, a monster snake that you've never seen before. It is said that they are the souls of the Pirate King's crew. They wander along the coast every night, as if waiting for pirate ships to come again. But every time a ship comes, they will swarm and kill those who disembark. They are very aggressive and stealthy at night, but they hate light very much. As long as you hold a torch in your hand, you can disperse them. There's also the upside-down palace, and what's the evil hidden underground? I've seen a palace hanging upside down in the sky on Treasure Island several times, but it soon disappeared. Are you sure it's not a mirage? I'm an explorer, Undying Hanks said seriously. Of course I know what a mirage is. I can tell you very clearly that it's not a mirage, because every time the upside-down palace appears, some rubble, building stones, or scraps of buildings will fall from the sky. As for the evil hidden underground, that's what that man said. He came to the island and found me. He originally wanted to go deeper into the island, but halfway there he suddenly stopped. He said that there is a terrifying and evil existence hidden under the island. If he goes deeper, he will wake up the evil existence. Is that all you know? Actually, although I've been on Treasure Island for decades, I've only been to the Fountain of Immortality. I don't dare to go deeper into the island. In other words, you've never seen the so-called Pirate King's treasure. Nope. Chen Zhao immediately lost interest. The only thing that kept Chen Zhao asking was the treasure. If the treasure was gone, what else was there to pursue? The Fountain of Immortality? What was the benefit of turning into Hanks? He might as well just die. However, Chen Zhao was more interested in the man. First, he knew the location of the island. Second, he was related to Fanity. Moreover, he was a psychic. At least he knew how to use blessing magic. This person might be Fanity's team member. He already knew Qin Zhao, or he'd gotten information about Chen Zhao from Fanity. But why did he want to trick him to go to Treasure Island? Chen Zhao always had an idea. There are always people who want to harm me. Chen Zhao was never stingy when it came to people he didn't know or wasn't familiar with. Chen Zhao thought of the island from before. There was a large amount of demon gold stored in the cave. The demon gold had also been cursed and was filled with an ominous aura. Some of it had even ended up in Los Angeles and was stored in a safe at Citibank. Suddenly, Qin Zhao thought of a question. Who stored the cursed demon gold in the bank? Could it be the person who lured him to Treasure Island? Qin Zhao didn't want to be led by the nose anymore. So he decided not to go to Treasure Island this time. If he could, he should show himself. Otherwise, he wouldn't go even if he was beaten to death. Chen Zhao didn't like this feeling. The feeling of being kept in the dark about everything. Moreover, there was a hand scheming and controlling him behind the scenes. If he could come out, Qin Zhao would twist his head off and use it as a toilet. Does that person have any special characteristics? Like age, looks, voice, height, and so on? I remember, but how should I tell you? There were only two possibilities for that person to lure him to Treasure Island. One was that he wanted to harm him. The most likely possibility was that the person was his enemy. The other possibility was that he wanted to get something from Treasure Island, but he couldn't do it with his own power. So, Chen Zhao had to pave the way for him. This was also the most likely possibility. Chapter 1107. Darling, are you going to Treasure Island? Fei Lai had an urge to give it a try. I don't think so, Qin Zhao said. I see. Fei Lai's face was filled with disappointment. You want to go? You decide. I won't force you. Fei Lai's eyes flickered. She clearly wanted to go, but she just wouldn't tell the truth. We'll talk about it after you give birth, Qin Zhao said. Really? Then we'll go together after I give birth? Fei Lai was instantly energized. Huh. Okay. Fei Lai rarely made requests of Qin Zhao. Every time she did, Qin Zhao didn't know how to reject her. He knew it was a trap, but he still jumped into it. Oh, I have a party this weekend. I need to drive your car. Evely said that she could drive a car to her house, but Chen Zhao still decided to drive his family's car. What party? My student, Evely, wants me to be her partner. Fei Lai wouldn't be like other women who would make a fuss when they heard that another woman wanted to be Chen Zhao's partner. Since Chen Zhao was willing to share this with her, she would naturally believe him. Come back early tonight. Oh, dress neatly. Don't embarrass our family. It was a party, but Chen Zhao still couldn't get excited. Sunday arrived. Qin Zhao didn't leave until after lunch. Today he wore a black suit and a white shirt with an open jacket. He was too lazy to tie a bow. Qin Zhao's outfit wasn't much more formal than usual. However, Chen Zhao had a good figure. He was 8 meters tall, which was a standard height. Plus, his body was well defined. After kissing Fei Lai goodbye, Qin Zhao drove out. It was Chen Zhao's first time at Evely's house. Evely wasn't a local. She lived in a small villa in Beverly Hills. It wasn't big, but the environment was nice. Qin Zhao parked his car at the door and honked. Evely stuck her head out of the window and looked at Chen Zhao. Qin, wait for me for 20 minutes. Evely had said that she would wait 20 minutes, but Chen Zhao had waited for an entire hour. He had to admit that Evely was especially eye-catching after dressing up. Evely was going for the sexy route today. Her fiery red lips weren't something every woman could handle. Her long hair draped over her shoulders, paired with a white V-neck, low-cut shirt. The long dress that showed off her long legs made her look even sexier. Qin Zhao opened the door for Evely like a gentleman. Qin, didn't you say you weren't going to drive today? I suddenly want to drive again today. Qin Zhao answered casually. Is your car a hardtop? Yeah, what's wrong? Is this the car Miss Fei Lai usually drives? Yes. You should buy her a convertible. Why? Every time a woman goes out after dressing up, she not only hopes to enjoy the scenery along the way, but also hopes to attract more attention. You don't understand the psychology of women at all. Okay, do you have any car models and brands to recommend? If you don't consider the price, of course a top sports car is the best, Evely said. Evely said, but most of the models are geared towards men. For example, their engines are powerful and the models are more streamlined. They lack the gentleness of women. The internal facilities are also geared towards men, which is extremely unfriendly to women. So if you want to choose a model that suits women. I recommend the latest model of the Porsche 911. As everyone knows, the Porsche 911 is the most classic model of Porsche. Last year's latest model, the 911 convertible series, also combined many modern elements. There's also a model specially designed for women. Even with the best equipment, the price is less than $800,000. You can definitely afford it. I'll go to the store when I'm free, Qin Zhao said. It was Li Qiong's first time at a party like this, so she couldn't help but be a bit reserved. The manor was unbelievably luxurious. Just the parking lot was the size of a football field. This was unimaginable in Los Angeles, where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold. The number of luxury cars parked in the parking lot was overwhelming. Max had a serious expression on his face as well. Max, you look a little nervous. Of course I'm nervous. 90% of the guests here are in high positions. Just then, a voice came from behind them. Hi, Max, you're here too. Max turned around and realized that it was his boss. Hello, Mr. Andrews. Hello. Is this beautiful lady your girlfriend? Yes. Okay. I'm really disappointed that I missed such a beautiful lady. I'm leaving now. Have fun. After Andrews left, Li Qiong asked, Is that your colleague? He's my boss, a client manager. All the clients he handles are worth tens of millions. What's a client manager like him responsible for? He mainly manages his clients' assets, but he also helps them with their finances and investments, Max said. Max said, Take Mr. Andrews, for example. He has 6 or 7 clients with assets worth tens of millions of dollars. If a client needs to buy something, such as a house, land, or yacht, he will come forward to negotiate with the seller and help the client get the best price. Then, he will get a commission of 10% or more from the discount he helped the client get. What do you manage in the company? Li Qiong asked curiously. I'm in charge of credit cards, Max said. Mainly high-class clients, those with assets of around $1 million. Li Qiong silently memorized Max's words. She was also ambitious and wanted to achieve something in her career. Although her family was considered wealthy, and her parents opened a fireworks supermarket, which also earned a considerable amount of income. But that wasn't the life she wanted. The education she received, coupled with a strong sense of feminism in the United States of America, was very good. Li Qiong was also influenced. She also dreamed of becoming a strong woman in movies and TV shows one day, but she was rejected time and time again. She was a little disheartened. Just then, 2 people walked over from behind. Li Qiong walked past them. Li Qiong looked up. It was Qin Zhao. Why was he here? Was he here to attend the party too? Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao turned around and saw Li Qiong and Max. Li Qiong, why are you here? Chapter 11:08. Evely, it's you? Max suddenly realized that Evely had come with Qin Zhao. He knew that Evely was the spokesperson of Citibank. She had signed a 3-year contract with $80 million. However, he didn't expect Evely to come to the party. What was even more unexpected was that Qin Zhao was Evely's boyfriend. Li Qiong was also very shocked. Of course, she knew Evely. Almost everyone in the world who didn't know Evely was dead. There was probably no one who didn't know Evely. Hello, Evely replied indifferently. Is Evely your girlfriend? Li Qiong asked curiously. Evely held Qin Zhao's arm. Qin Zhao shook his head. No, she's my student. Li Qiong really didn't expect the world-famous swimming legend to be Chen Zhao's student. Chen, let's go in. Li Qiong will go in first. Ah, okay. Bye. Looking at Chen Zhao and Emily's backs, Li Qiong was a bit disappointed. Your classmate has such a powerful background, Max murmured. He probably only came to this party because of Evely, Li Qiong said, a bit upset. But it's enough to have a student like her, Max said enviously. Who was Evely? She was a legend in the world of sports. With such a student, it meant that fame and fortune would be in his hands. Qualifications were important everywhere. You could go to any company for an interview. In addition to having a good education background, it was also very important to have work experience. If you could record that a famous person was your student in your resume, the value of the resume would increase greatly. No company could ignore the celebrity effect of a resume. It's so big, Li Qiong exclaimed. The place was really bigger than she'd imagined. Therefore, if one didn't have enough imagination, it was impossible to imagine what kind of life the rich lived. Do you see that woman over there? Max pointed at a beautiful woman surrounded by a group of women in the distance. Yes. What's wrong with her? Li Qiong didn't know the woman, but she recognized the earrings on her ear. The earrings came from a limited edition Chanel handbag, and that limited edition handbag was worth $750,000. Li Qiong did not have that much money, but like most women, she advocated and pursued luxury goods. Therefore, he liked to read those fashion magazines. Go and meet her. She's the owner of this place, Amira. Li Qiong gasped. That woman was about the same age as her, but she was the owner of the manor. She's the daughter of the major shareholder of Citibank's board of directors, and the only heir of the billionaire Depp. This kind of party was a place for the upper class to socialize and network. Therefore, the people here would do everything possible to get to know some upper-class people and expand their connections. Li Qiong took a deep breath, picked up a glass of wine from the servant, and was about to walk towards Amira. But at that moment, Amelia headed in another direction. Li Qiong also turned around and followed them. Just then, Li Qiong realized that Amira was walking toward Chen Zhao and Evely. She was probably going after Evely. This was good, Li Qiong thought. She could get close to Chen Zhao first, and then wait for Amira to come over herself. Chen Zhao. Li Qiong walked toward Chen Zhao and Evely. Li Qiong, you're developing with Mr. Max pretty fast, Chen Zhao said, smiling. We're not deep, Li Qiong explained. I'm only his temporary companion today. Chen, aren't you going to introduce this lady to me? Evely asked. My high school classmate, Qiong. Li, hello, Ms. Evely. Hello, Ms. Evely. Just then, Amira walked over. Hi, Mr. Chen. Amira was dressed rather dignified and sexy today. Her dress was also made of sparkling pink scales. She looked rather noble and elegant. Hi, Amira. Are you here for the party too? Mr. Chen, I'm the owner of this party. Amira rubbed her forehead. This is your house? Chen Zhao asked, surprised. I don't know at all. Li Qiong realized that Chen Zhao actually knew everyone. He also seemed to be very close to Amira. The two chatted casually as if they were friends. Last time, I asked Andrews to send you a message to invite you to the party, but you didn't reply at all. Now you're here yourself, Amira complained. Ms. Amira, don't blame Chen, Evely said. He's here as my shield today. Oh, Mr. Chen, do you know Ms. Evely? She's my student. I didn't expect us to be so fated, Amira said, smiling. Chen Zhao thought to himself, what kind of fate is this? Oh, the shoreline you bought for me last time seems to be under construction. I wanted to introduce you to an engineering company. Chen, you bought a shoreline? Can I swim on your beach in the future? Sure, as long as you're not afraid of the sharks in the water, Chen Zhao said. Li Qiong was a bit dazed. Her high school classmate's wealth was far greater than she'd imagined. He actually bought the entire shoreline? Mr. Chen, Have you considered selling your Mirror Lake mansion? I want to buy it, Amira said. Sorry, no. I still want to live there. But you're going to move there after the mansion is built, right? I plan to switch places. I'll live by the beach in summer and autumn, and at Mirror Lake in spring and winter. Li Qiong was a bit dazed. Just how rich was her high school classmate? When she'd first met him, he seemed to be driving that truck. At the time, Li Qiong had thought that Chen Zhao was just an ordinary teacher. But every time she saw him, she seemed to have a new understanding of him. What a pity. It's such a good place. Amira was a bit disappointed. She'd been to Chen Zhao's Mirror Lake mansion before. She really liked the place. She'd searched all over Los Angeles, but really couldn't find such a good place. There were mountains, rivers, and lakes. The scenery was amazing and the air was fresh. The temperature was also more stable and pleasant than in Los Angeles. She'd thought that Chen Zhao would move after the mansion was built. Chapter 1109. Suddenly, Li Qiong was a little jealous. She had lived in this country for more than a decade, but she couldn't compare to Chen Zhao at all. Chen Zhao had only been here for a year or so. In the past, Li Qiong felt quite good about herself. She had never been anxious about not finding a job. She felt that she had enough capital to slowly search for it. In any case, if he were to pick and choose, he would definitely find a satisfactory job. But now, she felt a sense of oppression. He didn't even have a job now. However, this once unremarkable high school classmate had already surpassed him in all aspects. She was unable to adapt to such a huge difference. Chun Zhao and Amira chatted happily, but Li Qiong felt out of place. Just then, Andrews walked over and greeted them. Miss Amira, Mr. Chun, Miss Evely. Andrews basically knew all the money in and out of Chen Zhao's bank account. While he was amazed at Chen Zhao's ability to spend money, he was also amazed at Chen Zhao's ability to earn money. Especially in the past few days, tens of millions of USD had entered the account. Of course, Chen Zhao's spending power was also quite strong. Andrews even felt his heart ache. Chen Zhao hadn't used his credit card yet. If Chen Zhao used a credit card, his spending limit would definitely be a black card. Moreover, as Andrews' client, he could take a large portion of Chen Zhao's commission. Unfortunately, he had too much money. He didn't need credit cards at all. This also made Andrews feel very stifled. But Chen Zhao was rich. What could he say? After all, even billion-dollar companies might not have more cash than Chen Zhao. With Chen Zhao's wealth, it would be easy for him to borrow a few $100 million from the bank. But Chen Zhao didn't need it at all. He used as much money as he had. He didn't like to borrow money from the bank. His consumption concept was similar to that of his countrymen. This was also what made Andrews most depressed. If he could think of a way to get Chen Zhao to borrow a few $100 million, Andrews would probably wake up laughing even in his dreams. At Chen Zhao's level of wealth, he had many high-quality assets under his name. They were all easily converted into cash. They are very welcome customers of the bank. Even if the customer did not want to borrow money, the bank would find ways to make the customer borrow money. In short, a customer who doesn't lend money isn't a good customer. Only customers who owed the bank money were the most welcome customers of the bank. Mr. Chen, Andrews asked, SU's yacht manufacturer is holding an exhibition in L.A. Are you interested in going? I already have a yacht at home, Chen Zhao said. I usually leave it at my house and don't really use it. Li Qiong was standing next to them. She felt that if she continued to listen to their conversation, she would only feel more depressed. She even wondered if she should think of a way to poach Chen Zhao over. This kind of man who had the looks, the family background, and the education background could not be found even with a lantern. If Chen Zhao could become her man, she wouldn't have to struggle anymore. Or she could let Chen Zhao pay for her company. By the way, Mr. Chen, I know a company that develops smart management systems. They're currently promoting a brand new smart butler system. Do you need it? How much is it? About $10 million. How much is the actual price? I can say around 8 million, Andrews said. That's still too expensive. The Butler system I'm using now is only a few $100,000. It has all the basic functions. Does the company's Butler system have any extra functions? The functionality of this system is definitely better than a system that costs hundreds of thousands of dollars. It is also connected to 2 satellites, including a weather satellite and a surveillance satellite. It can automatically identify the identity of anyone who enters the manor. If an unknown person approaches, it will alert the owner directly. If it is a wanted criminal or dangerous person, it will call the police directly, Andrews said. This system can greatly increase the safety of the family. Then what if I have a friend who can't see the light of day and he comes to my house as a guest? The system will call the police too? Huh. Andrews obviously knew what Qin Zhao meant. As long as the owner approves, the system won't call the police randomly. Then the surveillance satellite will continuously take pictures of my home and territory? Yes. Then, how can my privacy be guaranteed? Only you can download and view all the pictures taken by the surveillance satellite. Even the developer of the system can't see them. This company advocates an efficient and high-quality customer experience. Every customer has a security lock. Without the password, even the company and the owner of the satellite can't see the content. What's this security lock? Chen Zhao asked, confused. This. Only the experts in this field can answer. It's a high-grade ASL security protocol. On the side, Li Qiong finally heard a topic that she could join in on. This ASL security protocol is an agreement between humans and computers. The computer program is already loaded with the ASL security protocol, so no third party can bypass the computer and open the private content. Only the security lock of the security protocol can open it. It's not the first choice for mainstream AI housekeeping systems right now because it's too strict. If there's an accident, even the police can't access the content. Plus, it's expensive, so most AI housekeeping systems use the common UB security protocol. This security lock is worth over $3 million. The security lock that Mr. Andrews mentioned should be the ASL security protocol. Chen Zhao didn't understand Li Qiong's professional terms, but he got the general idea. So, other than me, no one can see my privacy? Yes. Li Qiong nodded. Chen Zhao, if your new house is big enough, a normal AI housekeeper won't be able to handle it. So you have to choose a new AI housekeeper. This is the trend of the new era. You know a lot about this? Chen Zhao was a bit surprised. In his impression, Li Qiong had always been a pretty woman. He didn't think that she would be so knowledgeable when it came to computers. That's what I learned in university. Will the operation of this AI housekeeper be complicated? Chapter 1110. Is it complicated to install and debug the system? Qin Zhao asked. The company is responsible for installing the system, but the customer has to find someone from another company for debugging and inspection. Why? That's too inconsiderate. The company installed and debugged the system last time. This company wants to ensure that their engineers don't install backdoors and also to ensure the privacy of their customers. That's why they completely exclude themselves when it comes to debugging, Andrews said. Qin Zhao, if you need it, Li Qiong said. I can take this job. How much do you charge? Chen Zhao asked. Li Qiong was about to say no, but Andrews said, usually the debugging fee is around 5% of the system's value. Sure. Chen Zhao and Li Qiong weren't familiar with each other. If Li Qiong wanted to debug for him for free, he would feel awkward. But if she had to pay, he would feel better. Andrews, reserve a system for me. You can help me negotiate the price. After hearing that the trial fee was so high, it was difficult for Li Qiong to say no to the reward. According to Andrews, the system was worth $10 million. Even if the final price was $1 or $2 million less, it would still be a few $100,000. To Li Qiong, a few $100,000 was an astronomical figure. It was almost impossible for her to find a job with an annual salary of $100,000. But if she could complete the debugging, she could earn a few $100,000. How many $100,000 could a person earn in their lifetime? But the construction of the house has just started. It'll be at least a few months later. I'll contact you after it's done. Okay. Lee Cheong nodded. To be honest, it was an eye-opener for her today. In the past, she'd only seen multi-million-dollar deals in movies and TV shows. But in reality, Chin Zhao only needed to think about it for a while before deciding to buy it. Chin, I feel like I'm the one who gave you this butler system, Evely said teasingly. I only paid you $10 million. That doesn't count. I took 10 days. Plus, I think you'll earn more. Lee Cheong already had a certain understanding of Chen Zhao's wealth. But when she heard that Chen Zhao had earned $10 million in 10 days, she still found it unbelievable. He probably wouldn't be able to earn that much money in his entire life. But Chen Zhao seemed to be able to earn it easily. It was truly infuriating to compare oneself to others. Andrews had the same idea. He had worked so hard to negotiate and help Chen Zhao lower the price. Then he would take a cut, but it wasn't even 10 days of Chen Zhao's income. Mr. Chin, are you interested in buying an island now? Amira asked. I don't even have $20 million in my bank account. I can't afford it. If you want, I can transfer a loan under $1 billion to your account, as long as you say it. $1 billion? I'd be crazy to buy it. Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. Actually, you can choose from cheap islands that only cost a few million USD, or even a few $100,000. Of course, there are also expensive ones that cost tens of millions or hundreds of millions of USD. If I want to buy, I will buy the best. When I have a few $100 million USD, I will buy an island. An island that is worth a few million USD is not even 2 square kilometers. If I build a house on such an island, I will occupy the entire land. Oh, Mr. Chen, Amira said. I have a business that I need your help with. Are you interested? What's it about? Chen Zhao could hear that Amira's tone was a bit repressed. He couldn't help but look up at her. Guys, can you give Mr. Chen and me some private space? The people around her left tactfully. Li Qiong glanced at them a few more times. She was curious about what business Amira wanted to discuss with Chen Zhao. To her, it was most likely a huge deal. There was no one else around, but Amira still lowered his voice and said, My father bought a piece of land in Abilene, Kansas. It's going to be used to build a factory, but the construction stopped because of an accident. What accident? A hole was dug in the construction site, and on the first night, workers mysteriously disappeared. Other workers said that a monster came out of the hole and dragged the workers into the hole. Then, 2 similar incidents happened. What kind of monster? Are there any pictures? No, but according to the 2 workers, the monster looked like a dog, but it was really big. It was 6 to 7 meters long, Amira said seriously. Amira said solemnly, So far, 6 workers have gone missing, and my father has paid at least $20 million as compensation. Then there must be a local search team, right? Didn't they enter the hole to search? A search and rescue team of 8 people went into the cave, but they never came out. Chen Zhao narrowed his eyes. So you want me to help you solve this problem? Not me, Amira said. It's my father. What about the payment? I can pay you $10 million in advance. If you can solve the problem, I'll pay you another $20 million. Chen Zhao had to admit that he was tempted. Just as Chen Zhao was hesitating, Amira said, It's after-tax income. Amira thought that Chen Zhao was worried about taxes. After all, such income had to be taxed at 45%. Chen Zhao thought about it and nodded. Is it urgent? Currently, my father's land project has stopped. He loses millions of dollars every day. He's worried too. Okay, I accept, Chen Zhao said. When do we leave? It's best if we can leave in 1 or 2 days. Sure, Chen Zhao said. I'll arrange it and leave the day after tomorrow. Okay, it's settled. Also, do you need me to prepare anything? Don't let anyone else near the construction site. I don't like people disturbing me when I'm working. Of course, I'll tell my father. This was actually Amira's personal decision. She felt that Chen Zhao was the person who could solve this problem. She still needed to talk to her father. Oh, I'll go with you. If you want to go into the hole with me, then forget it. I don't want to protect you in an unknown situation. Chapter 11:11. Amelia cherished her own life very much. She hadn't enjoyed her life enough yet. Was she going to risk her life with Chen Zhao? Chen Zhao was earning money from risking his life. Of course, the fees were high. However, it wasn't easy to find a big client like Amira. Chen Zhao couldn't meet one every day. Chen Zhao hoped that these rich people would run into big trouble every day. Only then would he be able to use his skills. Li Qiong had been observing Chen Zhao and Amira. Although he didn't know the specific content of their conversation, he could tell that the outcome of their conversation should be satisfactory to both sides. Mr. Chen, are you staying for dinner? I have a show here tonight. Chen Zhao rolled his eyes. I can't watch shows. I'll be happier if you arrange a striptease show for me. Amira was helpless. She'd rather help Chen Zhao buy a striptease bar than have a striptease show in her own manner. In the evening, Evely left with Chen Zhao. Evely, I have something on the day after tomorrow. I'll have to stop training for 2 days. Okay, as long as you make up for the time. After sending Evely to her house, Chen Zhao went to a car shop. Car shops in America usually had a larger space. There were more than 100 cars in the parking lot. These cars were all very cheap. Some could be bought for $2,000 or $3,000. The frequency of Americans changing cars was relatively high. Some people would sell a car to a car shop after driving it for a period of time and then get a new car. Of course, new cars were also sold here, but relatively speaking, it was more worthwhile to buy a used car than a new one. Car shops like this usually had a track where customers could test their cars. Chen Zhao entered the car shop. The showroom was filled with new cars. Only new cars would be displayed here. An old man walked over slowly. Hi, how can I help you? Are the cars here the ones in your shop? What model and brand do you want? The old man asked. Porsche 911. Because the Porsche 911 was a classic model, many car shops had it. There's a used car outside. Do you want it? It's only $50,000. Chen Zhao shook his head. After all, it was for Feilai. He still wanted to buy a new car. Moreover, Chen Zhao wanted to buy a top-end Porsche 911 that cost $50,000. It was either an old model or had a range of more than 100,000 kilometers. If you want a new car, you can pay a deposit first, and I can order it for you. Chen Zhao refused. It was troublesome to order cars from American car shops. Some shops would even cheat Chinese people by delaying the purchase of a car for a few months. Some even bought an old, refurbished car. Chen Zhao didn't want to be a fool, so he rejected the old man and left. Chen Zhao used the navigation to search for a Porsche store. Compared to the previous car dealership, this Porsche store was much more professional. However, this was to be expected. After all, the customer base was different. The salesperson was a very beautiful woman. She reminded Chen Zhao of Paris. Sir, how can I help you? Do you have a Porsche 911? The latest model? Chen Zhao asked. Of course, this way please. The saleswoman led him through the showroom for a while and stopped before a dark blue metallic sports car. When Chen Zhao saw the car, he immediately remembered it. It was the same color. The deep yet elegant color and the gentle lines of the car were very much in line with Chen Zhao's ideal car model. Is it convertible or hardtop? Chen Zhao asked. Convertible. The beautiful saleswoman began to talk about the car's performance and various hardware components in an endless stream. Chen Zhao kept nodding. After all, he'd been driving for a year. He could basically understand the gist of it. The saleswoman emphasized the differences between the car and the old model. Of course, it wasn't just the functions. The price was also different. As the saleswoman introduced the car, she studied Chen Zhao's expression. "What's the top-end price?" Chen Zhao asked. "About $850,000. You have to choose the specific interior. If I want you to send it to my home, will you help me?" "Sir, do you want us to send it to China?" "No, my home is in Los Angeles," Chen Zhao said. "But this car is for my girlfriend," Chen Zhao said. "I hope you can wrap it in a huge gift box and send it to my house. I hope my girlfriend can open it herself." The saleswoman stared at Chen Zhao with stars in her eyes. Chen Zhao turned his head and looked at the metallic gray car beside him. "What model is this?" "This is a Porsche 918. The lowest price is $1. 53 million, and the top end is $1. 75 million. Do you have this car in any other color?" "Silver gray, deep red, sapphire blue, metallic blue." The saleswoman listed more than 10 colors in a row. This car was almost twice as expensive as the previous Porsche 911. However, it was rare for Chen Zhao to like car. "I want this car too." "Huh. Then, what about the Porsche 911? "I want it too," Chen Zhao said. "But I want the black one. We don't have it in our store, but we can get it from other stores." "Okay. Send 2 cars to this address tomorrow at noon." "No problem, sir." Joy was written all over the saleswoman's face. Selling 2 cars at once was equivalent to half a year of her income. "Sir, how do you want to pay?" "Card, cash," Chen Zhao said. "Do you have a bank in mind?" "I don't need a loan." "Full payment." The beautiful salesperson almost choked on her breath. $2 million, and he paid in full? Where did this rich guy come from? When Chen Zhao came out, there was a phone number in his pocket. The saleswoman stood at the door and waved her hand vigorously. "My Prince Charming, you must remember to call me." When Chen Zhao's car disappeared from her sight, the saleswoman gritted her teeth and muttered to herself, "I wonder which bitch beat me to it." When Chen Zhao returned home, it was already past 7 at night. "Fei Lai, you haven't eaten yet?" "Waiting for you," Fei Lai said. "You have a baby in your stomach. Don't starve yourself." "I'm not hungry." Chen Zhao had the underlings prepare dinner. At the same time, he said to Fei Lai, "Fei Lai, do you want to go to Abilene the day after tomorrow?" Chapter 11:12. "I have work there," Chen Zhao said. "I also feel like I've been going out a lot lately, so if you want, we can go play there for a few days." Fei Lai understood what Chen Zhao was thinking. Chen Zhao felt that it would be inconvenient for her to go anywhere since she was pregnant. She also felt uncomfortable going out too often. "Darling, we should be more honest with each other. I don't think it's a big deal." "Okay." Chen Zhao stroked Fei Lai's hair. That was indeed what he was thinking. That was why he invited Fei Lai to Abilene. "What work is there this time?" "A billionaire bought a piece of land and caused some accidents. I'm going to solve the problem." "Then his price shouldn't be low, right?" "Very high," Chen Zhao said. "Remember to bring me a present." "Of course." The next day Fei Lai was soaking in the water. After entering February, the temperature had risen a few degrees. The temperature of Mirror Lake was just right, so Fei Lai had been soaking every day. Little Jerlin was just half a year old. She could already jump onto the round rock in the middle of the lake. Just then, Fei Lai saw a large truck arrive at the door. Fei Lai called out to the villa, but there was no response. Fei Lai saw the transport workers unloading 2 large boxes from the truck. Fei Lai carried Jerlin to the shore and draped a towel over her. "Hello, what's the delivery?" Fei Lai asked one of the workers. "Hello, you must be Miss Fei Lai." A woman walked up. She looked Fei Lai up and down. The first thing she saw was Fei Lai's bulging stomach. He felt indignant in his heart, but he still maintained a professional smile on his face. "These are the things that Mr. Chin bought in our shop yesterday. Please sign here." "Oh." Fei Lai signed the shipping receipt. Miss Fei Lai, you have to open it yourself. How do I open it? Fei Lai looked at the huge box in front of her, feeling helpless. Just unlatch the lock on this side. Fei Lai unlocked the lock, and the lid of the box opened up like flower petals. A new metallic, dark blue Porsche 911 was revealed inside. Fei Lai took a deep breath. She was amazed. That was Fei Lai's first thought. Just then, Qin Zhao walked out of the house. Fei Lai, we've been together for a year now. This time last year I gave you a car. This year I'll give you another one. Do you like it? Fei Lai jumped into his arms and kissed him deeply. The accompanying saleswoman had a look of jealousy on her face as she cursed the vixen in her heart. However, when she looked at the villa in front of her, why wasn't this man hers? Gifting a car for a year was really extravagant. Qin, I really like it. Fei Lai liked it very much. She couldn't wait to sit in the car and try it out. However, her gaze fell on the other box. Where's the other box? I bought it for myself, Qin Zhao said. Of course, if you like that one, you can drive it. Fei Lai went forward to open the box. She was also amazed by what she saw. These two Porsche sports cars were classic models. Fei Lai wouldn't be surprised if Qin Zhao bought a car. She was surprised that Qin Zhao would buy a sports car. She knew Qin Zhao's habits. He didn't like to drive sports cars. Qin, I thought you didn't like sports cars. I think these two cars are a better match. The saleswoman's face was full of envy. It was so good to have a rich man. Miss, thank you. After tipping everyone, Qin Zhao ignored the saleswoman's little tricks and sent them all away. Fei Lai, don't you want to try it? Jerlin ran out too and pounced on the front of the car. Car, beautiful. Jerlin wants it too. Papa, Jerlin wants it too. Qin Zhao was stunned. Fei Lai said, the supermarket in town has those small toy cars. You can buy one for Jerlin. Actually, Fei Lai wanted to drive out, so Qin Zhao let her. After the family changed their clothes, they went out to go shopping. At the entrance of the supermarket, Qin Zhao saw someone familiar. Hi, Qin. Dean Sloat walked over with his daughter, Azina. Such a beautiful car. Azina looked at the car parked by the road, her eyes shining. Azina, you haven't come to Mirror Lake in a long time. Azina is in high school this year. She lives at school now and only comes back once a month, Dean Sloat said. He glanced at Jerlin in Fei Lai's arms. Your daughter has grown a lot. Last time I saw her, she was still a little girl. Ha! Kids grow really fast at this age. You should have the most experience. Dean Sloat smiled and did not reply. When Azina was Jerlin's age, he wasn't around. Her mother took care of her. Qin, do you have time? Let's talk. Sure. Qin Zhao turned to Fei Lai. Fei Lai, go in and help Jerlin choose a car. I'll sit here with Mr. Sloat. Sure. Azina, do you want to go in? I'll treat you to ice cream. I'm not a kid. Azina rolled her eyes. I want strawberry. Qin Zhao and Dean Sloat sat on a bench outside the supermarket. Mr. Sloat, how have you been? Qin, I plan to run for mayor again. I hope you can support me. Suddenly, Dean put on a serious expression and looked at Qin Zhao. Qin Zhao did not expect Dion to talk to him about this. Logically speaking, Qin Zhao should support Dion Sloat. After all, Dean's help was undeniable for Qin Zhao to settle down in Mirror Lake. However, Dion Sloat did not have a good reputation in town. Many people said that Dion Sloat had abused his power for personal gain when he was the mayor, selling out the town's interests in exchange for bribes. Therefore, Qin Zhao felt that even with his support, it would be very difficult for Dion Sloat to become mayor again. However, it was an undeniable fact that Qin Zhao owed him a favor. Mr. Sloat, if you want to run for mayor, I'll definitely support you. But are you sure there's someone else who's willing to vote for you other than me? A fat doesn't know how to manage Mountain Town at all, Dean Sloat said. Look at how he's managed the town in the 6 months he's been in office. Afate was the new mayor of Mountain Town. Chen Zhao had seen the new mayor once. Many people in the town can't find a job now, and Afate once promised that if he became the mayor, he would reopen the brewery to provide more jobs for the residents of Mountain Town. But he broke his promise. He borrowed $200 million from the bank in the town's name, wanting to start farming, but he completely ignored the fact that the town's land isn't suitable for growing crops. Now he has lost almost all of the $200 million. Chapter 11:13. Chen Zhao did notice that the town wasn't doing too well recently. The unemployment rate was as high as 20%. It was a terrifying number. In the past, many people relied on the brewery to work and live. Plus, the one-stop sales and transportation took up a lot of jobs. Ever since the brewery had caught fire, there had been a lot of calls to rebuild it. Back then, the new mayor, Afate, had proposed to rebuild the brewery. That was how he obtained the support of the townspeople and defeated his competitors. But after Afate took office, he didn't keep his promise. He actually wanted to do agriculture and borrowed a huge loan from the bank, a total of $200 million. How much was $200 million? The value of agriculture in Los Angeles was around this amount. But Afate actually used $200 million on agriculture in Mountain Town. Of course, he also knew that the land in Mountain Town wasn't suitable for growing crops. The salinity of the land was too high. Therefore, a large portion of the $200 million was used to treat the land. But reality proved that Afate was too naive. The salinity of the land in Mountain Town was much higher than he'd expected. He'd invested a large amount of money to treat the land. Then, the crops would all die after a few days. After retesting, he found that the deep soil had high salinity too. To completely treat it, he didn't need $200 million, but $2 billion. $200 million was enough to treat a few hundred acres of land. How many crops could he grow? It would probably take a few hundred years to pay off the loan with a few hundred acres of land. In the end, he angered the bank. Then, a large amount of the town's land was forcefully expropriated by the bank. Now, half of the land in Mountain Town was in the bank's hands. Under normal circumstances, it wouldn't matter to the townspeople whose hands the land was in. But if it was in the bank's hands, it would be a serious problem. The bank could sell it to whoever it wanted. If it was Chen Zhao who bought the land to build a house or treat it as his backyard, it would be fine. But if it was sold to a chemical factory, the townspeople would probably want to die. The bank didn't care if the townspeople objected or not. To them, they would sell to whoever offered the highest price. In America, it was difficult to get approval from the local government for the construction of chemical factories. Therefore, many chemical factories were built in remote areas. But now, the town government still owed a large amount of money. If they wanted to object, they had to consider the bank's attitude. But this had nothing to do with Chen Zhao. He didn't rely on anyone in town to earn money anyway. Plus, Chen Zhao had a green card, so he had no right to object to the new mayor. Anyway, the new mayor was chosen by them. A sin committed by heaven could be forgiven, but a sin committed by oneself could not be avoided. The new mayor, who had high standards but low abilities, indeed had no management skills. His campaign slogan was louder than anyone else's: eliminate unemployment. As a result, after he took office, the unemployment rate broke historical records. Occasionally, Chen Zhao would pass by the entrance of the town government. He could see people blocking the office building and protesting, asking Afate to step down. Chen Zhao was considered half an outsider here. He didn't even have the right to vote. Other than supporting Dion Sloat verbally, he couldn't influence the town's voting. I've already arranged for people to spread the news in the town. Why don't you let me come back and continue being the mayor? Dion Sloat said. Chen Zhao glanced at Dion. He was indeed an old fox. This method was many times more advanced than that of the new mayor. In the past, Dean Sloat did not have a good reputation, but he had indeed done a lot of practical things. Putting aside Dion Sloat's moral character, at least his ability was there for all to see. Chin, What if I say that I hope you can invest in a beer factory? What would you think? Dion Sloat asked in a testing manner. Chen Zhao really did not expect Dion to make such a request. After all, Qin Zhao had no concept of operating a brewery. He didn't know how to manage it either. Qin, in the past, when the brewery was still here, its sales were always good in the LA area. It made millions of dollars every year, and the sales were stable. Plus, the sales didn't disappear. I still have the contact information of the distributors, so it's easier to open up a market than a new brand. Mr. Sloat, I really don't plan on doing this. Chen Zhao had always kept his distance from businesses he was unfamiliar with. Because he was unfamiliar with them, he was worried about losing money. Also, managing a company was very complicated. Chen Zhao did not want to tie himself down because of this. Chin, if you're afraid that you don't know how to manage it, you can leave it to a professional manager. Plus, your old friend Bant is an old employee of the brewery. He's passed down the taste of wheat beer. Because of this skill, he's always been the brewery's unobtainable taster. How much do I need to invest to rebuild the brewery? Chen Zhao asked. At least $5 million. Chen Zhao could afford $5 million. But this was an investment, not a game, especially when it was a business that he was unfamiliar with. I can't answer your question right now. I need to think about it. Okay, I'll wait for your good news. Chen Zhao had a rough idea of Dion Sloat's plan. He wanted to rely on his own investment to build a brewery and then gain a wave of popularity and rise back to the top. But this also meant that Chen Zhao's interests in Mountain Town were tied to Sloat's. Chen Zhao did not know if Sloat had suddenly thought of this, or if he had planned it for a long time. But if the conditions were right, Chen Zhao would rather work with Sloat than an idiot like a Fate. Sloat knew that he should stop here, so he did not continue pestering Chen Zhao. After Fei Lai and Azina came out of the supermarket, he left. Fei Lai, let's go to Bant's house for lunch. Sure. Chen Zhao took out his phone. Bant, are you home? I'm here. Chinwai, do you want to come? Fei Lai and I are too lazy to cook, so we plan to go to your house for lunch. You won't reject us, right? Come quickly. I've been home alone for 2 weeks. Mary and Ken are both busy and don't have time to come back. I eat alone every day. It's great that you guys can come and eat with me. Bant was very welcoming of Chen Zhao's family. We came empty-handed this time. We didn't bring any gifts. I hope you guys don't bring anything. You always bring gifts. I have to prepare gifts every time I go. It's so troublesome. Bant was very straightforward and said whatever he wanted. Chapter 11:14. When Chen Zhao and Fei Lai arrived at Bant's house, they realized that Bant had even brought out the oven. He even brought the wheat beer he brewed himself. Since Fei Lai couldn't drink, she drove. Chen Zhao didn't have to care and started drinking with Bant. Bant, Chen Zhao said, Dean Sloat asked me to invest in rebuilding the brewery. Fei Lai heard Chen Zhao's words, but she didn't interrupt, as if it had nothing to do with her. Anyway, Chen Zhao would talk to her again when he got home. Bant, who'd been quite talkative, suddenly fell silent. He finished the beer in his glass in one gulp. After a while he asked, Did you agree? I'm not sure. I'm not familiar with the brewery's profits, but I also want to hear your suggestion. Bant was definitely more familiar with the brewery than Chen Zhao, so Chen Zhao's first thought was to ask him. If it was from Bant's personal opinion, he was definitely willing to rebuild the brewery. After all, he'd been a bartender at the brewery and had his family skills. But Chen Zhao was his best friend, so he still had to tell him some things. Chen, rebuilding the brewery is a good thing, but you can't hire all the employees back. Why? There were too many employees in the brewery in the past. Sometimes one position would hire 3 or 4 positions. As long as they were residents of the town, they'd hire them unconditionally. This caused most of the employees to become slackers, Bant said. Also, many employees have dirty hands. Chen Zhao frowned. Dirty hands were a big taboo. Chen Zhao could afford the loss, but it didn't mean he was willing to keep them. Also, the accounts are messed up. Chen Zhao wasn't surprised. After all, the previous owner had messed up the accounts, which gave him an opportunity. If you want to rebuild the brewery, it's very likely to return to the chaotic situation in the past. If you hire those people again, then the bad things of the past will happen again. But if you don't, then the people in the town will gossip and say that you're a capitalist. You don't care, but Fei Lai and little Jerlin will be indirectly hurt. Bant stood in Chen Zhao's perspective and helped him consider many problems that Chen Zhao couldn't consider. If you're in charge, can you? Chen Zhao asked. I don't care. I'm an old face here. Those people aren't afraid of me, Bant said helplessly. So, according to what you're saying, we don't need to run the winery anymore. Chen Zhao didn't care about this bit of profit, as long as he didn't lose money. If he could bring benefits to the town, Chen Zhao was willing to make some contributions. However, no one would be willing to accept the fact that they invested in it, lost money, and even raised a bunch of thieves. Chin, if you want to open a brewery, you have to break away from the town. Bant said, half of the positions are filled with people from other places. As long as there's a comparison, the town's employees will be more restrained. The brewery's brand is still in the hands of the town government. The only valuable thing in the brewery was the 30-year-old logo. But the longer it dragged on, the less valuable the logo would be. Dashin Beer's trademark had disappeared from consumers' eyes for more than a year. Consumers were very forgetful. If they didn't see it for more than a year, they might even forget about the brand. Coca-Cola had done a test in the past. They stopped advertising for a month and sales fell by 80%. It didn't fall to 80%, but 80%. Of course, Dashin Beer's advertising and influence were definitely not as high as Coca-Cola's. Dashin Beer was a regional product. Its consumers were all in the LA area. In just a year, Dashin Beer's brand value had fallen by more than 50%. If it dragged on for another year, the brand's value might not even be 10%. There were too many similar products on the market that could be easily replaced. Consumers wouldn't stop buying just because they didn't have similar products. They could easily find substitutes. The town government couldn't afford to rebuild the brewery right now. According to Bant's suggestion, they could either buy the brand directly or create a brand new beer brand. If they bought the brand, the town government would definitely ask for an exorbitant price. If they built a brand, it would be difficult to expand the market. There were pros and cons to both. If they cooperated with the town government, the town would pay for the land and the brand would still belong to the town. However, they would have to feed a lot of idlers. Chin, Dean Sloat is planning to run for mayor again. He must be very anxious now. After all, your answer is very important to him. So don't answer him so quickly. You can keep him hanging for now and wait for him to agree to some of your requests. Then you can cooperate with him and try to get more benefits. Anyway, it doesn't matter to you whether you open a brewery or not, but it's different for him. If he doesn't have a bargaining chip, it'll be very difficult for him to become mayor based on his past reputation. If I open a brewery, will you help me? Chun Zhao asked. As long as you need me, I'll definitely come, Bant said. Then what about your woodworking workshop? It's fine. My old friend and I started a woodworking workshop for fun when we had nothing to do. The workshop only cost a few $1,000s and he could do it alone. The world would still spin without anyone, Bant said calmly. Besides, you might not be able to open a brewery here. By the way, did Dion Sloat take any bribes? Chen Zhao asked. Actually, Chen Zhao didn't have a bad impression of Dean. Perhaps it was because they had a personal relationship. Chen Zhao still felt that Dean wasn't as bad as the rumors in the town said. How would I know? If I had evidence, he'd be in jail long ago, Bant said disapprovingly. But I do know that he did some dishonorable things when he was the mayor. Oh, what things? Forget it, let's not talk about it. Although this guy has crossed the line, he is still very capable in terms of management. In the past, when he was the mayor, there was no big trouble in the town. Chen Zhao quite agreed with this. Compared to a year ago, the town was more stable. Chapter 11:15. According to Bant, he'd rather have corrupt officials than mediocre ones. Of course, this was also because he'd seen how much damage mediocre officials had done to the town in the past year. Chen Zhao was conflicted too. Usually investments were for money. However, the first requirement wasn't very important to Chen Zhao. After all, a brewery had to have world-class sales and brand recognition. Otherwise, the profits were useless to Chen Zhao. On the other hand, Bant also mentioned the problem of hoodlums. For example, in the early days, some overseas Chinese invested in their hometown. Their initial goal wasn't to make money, but to make their hometown rich. However, most of these factories closed down in the end. This was because some people went to factories owned by overseas Chinese after being laid off from state-owned enterprises. However, they still had the habits of state-owned enterprises and were lazy, waiting to die. Chen Zhao wasn't related to the town's residents. The only family he knew, Bant, didn't rely on a brewery to survive. Therefore, Chen Zhao didn't consider short-term profits, but whether the price would rise in the long term. According to Bant, if the brewery was established, it could survive, but it would be difficult for it to grow. On the way home, Feilai asked, "Chin, do you want to open a brewery?" "I'm still hesitating. Even if I do, the profits won't reach the ideal state." "I don't think so," Feilai said. "Did you forget about Mom's supermarket?" Chen Zhao froze. What was Mara's supermarket's most popular product now? Of course it was alcohol. Mara Supermarket's alcohol was world famous. Many tourists who visited Sacramento had to go to Marla to buy a bottle of wine, and many alcohol manufacturers hoped that Mara Supermarket would put their products on the shelves. From the world's top wine to ordinary everyday beer, it could be said that there was everything. Moreover, Mara Supermarket was also in a phase of rapid expansion. There was 1 branch in Europe and 10 branches in the US. Among the supermarket groups, Mara Supermarket was already a large chain supermarket group. There were 2 in Los Angeles alone. Although Mara Supermarket wasn't a wine appraisal agency, consumers believed that as long as it was on the shelves of Mara Supermarket, it must be good wine. In some alcohol advertisements, they even mentioned that their products were already on the shelves of Mara Supermarket. This had also created a herd mentality. Many manufacturers were proud to be a merchant in Mara Supermarket. Of course, this also caused Mara Supermarket to be very strict with alcohol products. If Chen Zhao really wanted to open a brewery, he would definitely put it on the shelves of Mara Supermarket. Winip definitely wouldn't refuse. Chen Zhao fell into deep thought. According to Feilai, the brewery did have a bright future. However, he still needed to consult an expert on such matters. His own conjectures and calculations could never compare to a few words from an expert. "Dad, I found someone who can solve this problem." "Who did you find?" "A spiritualist." "Amira, why would you believe such a thing? Are you looking for a scammer?" "Of course not. I've seen his ability before." "Dad, can you trust my judgment?" "Amira, you don't have to worry about this. I've already found someone to take care of it. They're professionals." "Dad, who are you looking for?" "Mercenaries. They are the most professional mercenaries. There's nothing they can't solve." "Dad, don't you think that normal people can't solve this problem?" "Do you think that the spiritualist you mentioned can solve the problem? We're facing a monster now, not some supernatural event." Depp's answer was very certain. "Okay, that's it. Just do your job well." With that, Depp hung up the call with Yamala. There was another man in Depp's office. He lay on the chair opposite him lazily. He was tall and wore gold-framed glasses. "Avenger, when will your people arrive?" "We'll be there tomorrow," Avinko answered. "You can solve my problem, right?" Depp asked worriedly. "This isn't a normal attack. I saw a monster with my own eyes." "Don't worry. I remember that we were invited by the British government last time and helped them deal with the Thames River monster. We're very experienced with this. Half a year ago, Avengers' mercenary team was invited to London to investigate a strange incident in the Thames River. Someone was playing by the Thames River when he was dragged into the river. Half of the victim's body was found more than 10 kilometers upstream. After a series of investigations, it was discovered that the attacker was not human, nor was it any known creature. It was a huge mutated catfish. The catfish was 10 meters long and almost invulnerable. Normal firearms could not harm the mutated catfish at all. At that time, the British Special Forces had lured the mutated catfish to a sewage treatment plant. However, they could not kill the mutated catfish. Instead, the mutated catfish killed several Special Forces members. In the end, it was still Avengers, people who acted. One of the team members threw a high-explosive bomb into the mutated catfish's mouth and killed it. It was also because of that incident that Depp got to know Avenger. So after the incident, the first person Depp thought of was Avenger. Right, where did your team go? Depp asked. A man-eating shark appeared in the Hawaiian waters. It's more than 15 meters long. More than 10 fishermen have been killed. The local government hired my people to deal with it, Avenger said. Can you make it tomorrow? Of course. Avenger was not worried at all. Don't worry. When I spoke to them earlier, they already found traces of the shark. They should be able to solve it today. Avenger's answer was casual and very confident. This also gave Depp confidence. Now, he only hoped that the problem could be solved quickly. After all, if the construction site could not start, then the hundreds of millions of dollars he had invested would go up in smoke. It would be a loss of millions of dollars every day. Even if he had a big business, it would still be very painful. So even though Avenger had asked for a high commission, Depp still gritted his teeth and accepted it. As long as the problem could be solved, he would rather let it end as soon as possible. Right, if I want a complete monster body, can you do that? What do you want a monster body for? It's a one-of-a-kind monster. I want to use it as a specimen and put it in my living room. Chapter 1116. A car stopped in front of Chun Zhao's house. A man in black alighted. Mr. Chin, Miss Amira sent me to pick you up. Okay, wait a moment. Chun Zhao had just woken up and hadn't had breakfast yet. Oh, have you eaten? Thanks, but no thanks. The man was very professional. He rejected Chen Zhao's invitation with a smile. After breakfast, Chen Zhao kissed Fei Lai goodbye. Then he got into the car. Where are we going now? Airport. Miss Amira is already waiting for you on the plane. Chen Zhao boarded Amira's private plane. Amira was having breakfast on the plane. Morning, Mr. Chen. Have you had breakfast? Amira's makeup was exquisite and she had wavy blonde hair. Chen Zhao realized that Amira would change her hairstyle every time he saw her. Miss Amira, dealing with your hair too often is very harmful to your scalp. Amira lost her appetite immediately. She looked at Chen Zhao with a resentful expression. Fine, pretend I didn't say anything. Chen Zhao waved his hands and said helplessly, Do all rich people like you have a private plane? With your current assets, you can definitely buy one. The cost of this Gulfstream G550 plus the interior costs won't exceed $50 million. Forget it. Chen Zhao shook his head. Maintenance costs another $2 to $3 million every year. Oh, Mr. Chen, I told you before that my father's temper isn't very good. Do you remember? Amira was giving Chen Zhao a heads up. If he offends you in any way when you see him, please forgive him. Of course, Chen Zhao said with a smile. I've always been easy to talk to. Amira didn't believe that Chen Zhao was easy to talk to at all. Oh, Miss Amira, I want to ask you a question about business. Mr. Chen, are you planning to start a business? Or invest in some financial products? Sort of. Someone asked me to invest in a beer factory. Chen Zhao told her what had happened. A small brand in a place like this probably can't even make $1 million a year. Amira's analysis was very accurate. She could roughly analyze the situation and profit level from Chen Zhao's simple words. However, she was the manager of the bank after all, so this kind of ability was not surprising. Profitability is secondary. I'm thinking about whether the brewery has the potential to increase in value. Also, is there any way I can set up a brewery without letting moths into it? It's very simple. Use high benefits and high pressure policies to manage your employees. What do you mean? I don't need to explain the high benefits. The benefits you give are at least twice the pay and benefits of similar manufacturers. The high-pressure policy is not to set strict management rules. Anyone who makes a mistake, even the slightest mistake, will be fired immediately. What's the difference between this and normal management? Chen Zhao was confused. A normal company's management system is flexible. For example, if someone takes a document home and forgets to bring it back, they will only get a warning from their superiors. However, high-pressure management means that even the slightest mistake will cause them to be fired. This will attract the attention of the union. If the union interferes, it'll be very troublesome. That's the problem. If the union interferes, they'll stop production. Stopping production won't affect you much, but it means unemployment for the employees, so they'll try to resume production. If there are similar problems in the future, the employees will also supervise each other. This high-pressure management doesn't have to last for too long. In 3 months, the employees will be able to form self-discipline. Chen Zhao had to admit that he had racked his brains for an entire night. To Amira, this wasn't a problem at all. This problem was easily solved. But I won't be able to help much in terms of marketing, said Amira. No need. I'll put the beer on Mara supermarket's shelves, Chen Zhao said. Your brewery hasn't even started, and you're confident that you can put your product on Mara supermarket shelves? Fei Lai's mother is the owner of Mara supermarket, Chen Zhao said. No wonder. After flying for 2 hours, the plane finally arrived in Abilene. Abilene was a small city in Kansas with a population of less than 120,000. There had once been a president here, Eisenhower will. Its main income came from farming and animal husbandry. It had a certain industrial base. Abilene's airport only had domestic flights, so there were only a few people in the airport. After leaving the airport, Chen Zhao got into the car that Amira had arranged for him and went straight to the suburbs of Abilene. According to the law, some polluting projects weren't allowed to be built in densely populated areas. They had to be at least 100 kilometers away. Thus, the land that Amira's father had bought was very remote. After leaving the city, there were no buildings along the way. There were even very few cars on the road. A car might pass by every few minutes. After driving for about half an hour, Chen Zhao saw the construction site. It was a huge plain. The area within a radius of hundreds of kilometers was like this. Only the shadows of mountains could be seen in the distance. The place seemed rather desolate. As long as he opened the car window, he could smell the soil. The car stopped outside the construction site and was stopped. Amira picked up the phone. Dad, I'm outside the construction site. What? Why are you here? This isn't a place you should be. Dad, I brought someone. Who? I told you before. Someone who can help you solve your problem. Wait at the door. I'll be right there. A while later, Depp came out with a person. Depp first glanced at Chen Zhao, who was standing beside Amira, and then at Amira. Amira, is this the person you were talking about? Yes, Dad, Amira answered with certainty. He's the person who can help you solve your problem. How much did you give him? I've already paid $10 million in advance. According to the agreement, you still have to pay him $20 million after this is over. Depp's face darkened, and Avinko, who was standing beside Depp, was also shocked. Buddy, you really dare to ask for a high price. Avinko grinned at Chen Zhao. Chen Zhao glanced at Avinko and Depp, not saying anything. Amira had already warned him before. He didn't need to care about her father's words. In any case, he didn't work here to fight with Depp. Chapter 1117. Chun Zhao glanced at Depp and then at Amira. Dad, if you don't want to pay, I'll pay. Amira was very determined, but to Depp, his daughter had been tricked. Kid, I don't care what method you use to get my daughter's trust, but I can tell you responsibly that if you don't return the money, I'll make sure you never have peace again. Dad, Amira stood in front of Chun Zhao. If you dare to touch my friend, I won't allow it. She was afraid that Chun Zhao and Depp would have a violent conflict. Chun Zhao didn't say anything. He didn't care how Depp doubted him. It wasn't Depp who hired him anyway. Amira, don't you understand? This guy's a liar. I can tell whether he's a liar or not, Amira said calmly. Kid, then tell me how you're going to solve this problem? Why do I have to explain to you? You're not paying me, Chun Zhao said calmly. Depp was seething with anger. Just then, a cloud of dust rose from the road outside. 3 jeeps came, kicking up a cloud of dust. My people are here, Avinko said. The jeep stopped. 8 or 9 mercenaries jumped down from the car. Boss, how's the mission in Hawaii? Hawaii is beautiful, a black man with dreadlocks said. It's my first time there. If I have the chance, I'll definitely go again. I'm asking about your mission. We failed, a short-haired woman with a small waist said. Failed? Avinko frowned. How did we fail? We injured the shark, but it escaped. We couldn't do anything in the water. Fine. Avinko nodded. Let me introduce you. This is Mr. Depp, our employer this time. I hope we won't fail again. No, we're on the ground. As long as the monster appears, it won't have a chance to escape. That's for the best. Avinko nodded. When can you leave? Depp asked. We need to assemble the weapons first, one of the mercenaries said. These things can't be delivered in one piece. Dad, prepare 2 rooms for me and Chin. No, take this liar and leave this place immediately. I'll deal with him later. Dad, I said he's not a liar. I don't want to argue with you now. Get him out of here, Depp said. I'm not leaving, Amira said firmly. Up to you. Depp glanced at Chun Zhao, not hiding his disgust at all. Is this guy a liar? The mercenaries all looked at Chun Zhao. The man with dreadlocks looked at Chun Zhao and made a shooting gesture with his finger. Bayu, Depp led the mercenaries inside and left Chun Zhao and Yamala at the door. Mr. Chen, what should we do now? There's no rush. Let's wait and see. If those mercenaries can solve the problem, you can save 20 million, right? Chun Zhao said, unconcerned. I'm going to sleep in the car. The mercenaries were busy reassembling the equipment. Depp walked into the room, which was originally a temporary building for the construction workers. However, there were only a few of them in the entire construction site. All the workers were on holiday because of the accident here. The construction was still far from resuming. Guys, how's your preparation going? Almost. We can go now, the short-haired female mercenary said. Boss, are you coming with us this time? I won't go in. I'll wait for your good news here. Okay. Aren't you going to leave after dinner? Depp asked. No, we'll eat when we come back. Oh! Do you want us to help you get rid of that liar? I'll make him disappear forever for $10,000, the man with dreadlocks said. Depp's eyes flickered as he said, let's wait. Wait until this is over. Then we'll settle the score with that swindler. My money isn't that easy to take. No matter how much he took, I'll make him spit it out with interest. Be careful when you go in, Avinko said. We don't have any exact information on that monster yet. Got it, boss. The mercenaries all equipped themselves with various weapons. Okay, Mr. Depp, take us to the cave. Depp brought the mercenaries to an empty space, but there was a huge and thick metal plate covering it. This metal plate weighed about 10 tons. Everyone looked at Depp. This metal plate is to prevent the thing inside from escaping. Is it useful? Depp shook his head. That thing is too strong. I originally wanted to cover it with a metal plate and pour cement over it, but the result wasn't ideal. Avinko couldn't go down, so he was in charge of activating the crane and covering the metal plate. After the metal plate was lifted, a crack about 5 meters long and 3 to 4 meters wide appeared on the ground. What's the environment like down there? It's about 10 meters deep, and then there's a relatively flat tunnel. A man-made tunnel? No, it should be a natural crack in the ground, Depp said. I don't know if it's deeper than that. Danny, Avinko said, you'll be in command after we go down. Be careful. The short-haired, female mercenary nodded. The mercenaries started putting on pulleys and ropes, and then they went down one by one. When they reached the bottom of the cave, Danny waved her hand. Prepare to enter. Everyone be on guard. The tunnel in the crack was relatively wide. Some parts were more than 2 to 3 meters wide, but the narrow parts were also very narrow. The mercenaries even had to lean sideways to pass through. This narrow place is so small. How can the monster get through? Who cares how it gets through? We'll get rid of it as soon as possible, and then we can drink in the city. All of you, shut up. Can't you see what's going on? Aren't you afraid that the noise will attract the monster? Danny scolded. It's better if it's attracted. Saves us the trouble of looking for it. Danny, you're only the temporary leader, not the real leader. Danny glanced at her companions and didn't say anything else. Just then, Danny felt something kick under her foot. She looked down. It was a human's broken limb. Danny frowned. Damn it. The mercenaries continued deeper, but they didn't encounter any monster attacks along the way. Just how deep is this crack in the ground? Chapter 11:18. The mercenaries walked for more than 10 minutes without encountering anything. Damn it! How deep is this monster hiding? Sweetheart, come out. Come to Daddy. They looked back and saw the man with dreadlocks mumbling to himself. Nandev, be careful or your son will eat you. Haha. Everyone laughed, except for Danny, who looked serious, although Avinko had appointed her as the leader, temporarily commanding the team. But without Avinko, no one took her word seriously. Whoosh, what's that? Nandev shouted. They thought Nandev was joking again, but when they looked back at Nandev, they saw a wet tongue tied to his body. When they looked up again, a giant monster with its mouth wide open had appeared above them without them noticing. The monster's mouth was wide open like a bucket, and its limbs were stuck to the rock above. But because there was no light in the cave, it was hard to notice. They were all wearing night vision goggles, and their vision was greatly obstructed. Fire! Fire! Danny shouted. Da-da-da! They immediately fired at the monster. With a flick of its tongue, the monstrous creature dragged Nandev along the rock wall and left at a rapid speed. Save me! Save me! Save me! Nandev's voice echoed in the darkness. Go! Danny shouted, and everyone immediately chased in the direction the troll had fled. Nandev's voice came from the depths of the cave, shouting. But soon, a scream came from the depths of the crack. It was Nandev's voice, and he was obviously dead. Everyone's expression turned ugly. Don't chase, Nandev can't be saved. Be careful, and don't forget the top, Danny said in a low voice. Because one of their companions had died, everyone was in low spirits. Just then, Danny saw a green liquid on the wall, glowing faintly. It looks like the monster's blood. It's injured. Huh, is that a man-made building? They looked up and saw a brick wall in front of the crack. However, the bricks on the wall were cracked. It should be due to the groundwork that caused the cracks to appear inside the building. The monster must have come out from this underground building. When everyone entered the crack, they found that the crack was the outer wall of an inlaid underground building. This was a ring-shaped well with a diameter of more than 30 meters. Its depth was unknown, and there was a winding staircase that extended into the depths. The top of the ring-shaped well was a thick rock formation, completely sealed off. Without the construction on the surface, the monsters here would never see the light of day. Danny took out a paintball, lit it, and threw it into the circular well. After a few seconds, the paintball fell to the bottom. At this time, everyone saw countless skeletons below. The bottom of the circular well was completely covered with bones. There were also many caves on the walls. In the middle of the pile of bones stood a copper pillar with a diameter of 1 meter. There was a very thick chain attached to the pillar, but the chain had already been broken. How many people have died here? I'm afraid there are thousands of them. This might be a cemetery of the ancient Inca civilization. It could also be an execution ground. Execution ground. Someone purposely left their enemies here to feed the monster. That monster can't eat that many people. Who cares? Let's go down and kill the monster. Our mission will be complete. We can't go down. Danny suddenly said, "Why? There's more than one monster," Danny said seriously. "How do you know? Look at the holes below. Those holes look like the nests of those monsters. It's likely that these monsters were deliberately kept here by someone. However, for some unknown reason, this place was completely sealed off. Everyone looked at the densely packed caves and felt their scalps go numb. Then what do? Use the grenades," Danny said. Everyone throw the grenades down. No one dared to joke around anymore. They all took out the grenades they brought with them. The grenades weren't the kind with a strong impact. They could shoot out a large amount of phosphorus in a short period of time, which would stick to the skin and cause severe burns. In an instant, the ground below was set ablaze. Just then, a monster rushed out of the cave. The monster's body was quickly set ablaze, but it seemed fine and continued climbing the wall. It rushed to where everyone was. Everyone saw that the monster was completely set ablaze, but it was completely fine. They quickly sprayed it with their machine guns. Although this monster was immune to fire damage, bullets could still cause damage to it. The monster was riddled with holes and fell into the pit of bones. Just then, a claw reached out from the pile of bones and grabbed the dead monster. Everyone's expression changed when they saw this. There was an even bigger monster hidden in the pile of bones. But then more monsters came out of the cave. The claw appeared again, grabbed a monster, and dragged it into the pile of bones. The other monsters were like warriors. They kept crawling out of the caves and climbed up to attack the group. Because there were too many monsters, the mercenaries' firepower wasn't enough to clear them all. Soon, one of Danny's companions was wrapped by the monster's long tongue and swallowed. Retreat, retreat. Danny made a prompt decision. They couldn't continue fighting now. Everyone escaped out of the circular, well, through the crack. However, the long-tongued monsters were still chasing them. They seemed to have some substance on their bodies that could keep burning. Moreover, the flames didn't harm them at all. They followed the mercenaries out of the crack. The dark crack was illuminated by the flames on their bodies. The mercenaries fought and retreated, but there were too many long-tongued monsters. Everyone had to concentrate their firepower to barely kill one of them. Another mercenary was caught by a long-tongued monster, screaming, "Use high explosives!" Danny shouted, "We'll die first if we use high explosives in such a narrow place." "I don't care anymore." Danny hurled a grenade at him. A monster with a long tongue actually wrapped itself around the high explosive bomb and swallowed it. "Watch out." Everyone fell to the ground at the same time. Then there was a loud explosion. The entire crack was shaken by the explosion, and rocks kept falling. A few long-tongued monsters were caught in the explosion and were blasted into pieces. "Let's go." Danny saw that the long-tongued monsters had temporarily stopped chasing them. He immediately shouted and ran out frantically.